This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's backwards sunrise safari. It's a sunrise safari because we're going backwards. No, it's not. It's a sunset safari and we're looking at a giraffe. My name is James Henry. David is on camera and today is a very special day. Ukurile sweswi, ukurile sweswi, ukurile when Sebastian Raus, ukurile sweswi. Happy birthday to Sebastian Rouse, now 10 years old in Cape Town. The reason Sebastian has got a very special shout-out is that Sebastian has not only raised money in order to make masks for people on the streets during the coronavirus pandemic, he is also a scout and has been part of many fundraising activities for animals and has done a lot for animals over his short lifespan. So Sebastian, happy birthday to you. I hope you're having a good time with us. Not only that, of course, he has insisted that he wakes up for all of these shows and he does this on his own, and his entire schooling schedule is around our drive. So it's the least we can do, Sebastian, to wish you a very happy birthday, and I hope Cape Town is not too awful. The giraffe's gone. Vanished. Okay, so I don't know where the giraffe's gone, but you can ask us any questions if you're between the ages of 0 and 18 on the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Be lovely to hear from you. I'll drift back slightly. And then the rest of you can talk to us in 45 minutes. Brandon, giraffes defend themselves from attack with their feet. They've got vicious kicks, both front and back feet. And so they stamp down with their front feet and they kick back with their back feet. And that can often defend them against lions. It would mainly be lions that would have a go for them, otherwise a massive clan of hyenas. But almost always it would be lions that went for giraffe. They're also very big, you know. I mean, they weigh up to 1.5 tons, some of them, some of the really big ones. And that's huge. And so their size does help them a lot when they're being attacked. Our plan is to head off towards the east today. We had a couple of leopardy kind of tracks. Well, we didn't have leopardy kind of tracks. We had leopard tracks in the central parts of the reserve. We'll just go and see where they left. We're not going to focus too much on them. We're going to find whatever interesting things we can. Lauren has got a bird of prey from the top of a tree, I think.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome on board your live safari. We are starting with the white-backed vulture perched on top of the tree here, and I know exactly what that vulture is doing here, but I will explain that to you in just a moment. We also had our eyes clapped on that giraffe, but it appears James and that thumb belonged to Owen. James actually found a dead impala this morning, which was rather sad, but these vultures are here for that. And 70? Okay, maybe a bit less than that. 50. Let's go with 50 vultures in the air earlier, circling above camp. And I know exactly what they were doing. They were going for that impala. It's no longer there. I can no longer see it. So I imagine that all the scavengers together have eaten that carcass. Now, from the ground, I looked up and I could see different species of vultures. And this is a whiteback. Now, this one's alone. Normally, they're the most numerous. They arrive in vast numbers on the carcass and they create quite a feeding frenzy. It's noisy, it's very, very noisy, and they're very aggressive with one another. First come, first serve. They just land in the hundreds sometimes. I remember up in Kenya in the Masai Mara, I used to see absolutely hundreds of whitebacks on a carcass. And normally you get the hooded, and sometimes you get the large lappet face that comes in as well. So I think that's what that individual is doing on the top of the tree. Now James is going east, so I have decided why not. I will go west. So as I bumble west, see what I can find today, I've got leopardy vibes. We are going to send you all the way across to andBeyond in Ngala with Nikki to say hello.
A warm welcome to all the kids. I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala, and with me with the camera is Marcel. So we just found quite a big herd of impala. I think there's there have to be at least close to 80 impala here. So I just want to quickly focus here. And if we give it some time, you actually hear the male group. Part of them are females and the youngsters. And whenever they start moving further away into more open area, the male actually starts calling, and then all of them are coming back together again. You know what I might just do is, it does look like there are a few in the area right in front of me. So give me 1 second just to move slightly forward, and then we'll be able to see them right through here. Have a look at how many there are. I'm going to stop right over here. You can even hear all the oxpeckers, so those birds that eat the ticks that are on their backs. But how beautiful is the color of these impala? You'll notice with the bellies, like they have this very prominent white belly, then that lighter brown color, and then on top they have almost like a darker brown, and some of them almost look like a reddish color. And that's because whenever they are a little bit cold, they puff themselves up, and those are the ones that have that slightly darker color. But have a look at these youngsters trying to feed. See there, Marcel, if you can just zoom it in. Have a look at that. It's quite a big youngster. Look at how he's suckling. Also to the stage where mom's probably trying to wean this one, and there's probably not a lot of milk, but he's still trying to get a bit of milk. Now often when the youngsters try to suckle, look at how they puff their tail up. You can see that prominent white tail. Yana, age 9, I just want to say happy birthday. I hope you had an amazing day and that you were spoiled to the ends of the earth. Today is a fairly cool day. Marcel, what would you say is the temperature like? 27? No.
Earlier it was 26, but it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's colder now.
Maybe I would probably say maybe around 24 degrees Celsius, which would probably be 75 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see a few of them are grooming themselves. You just see them scratching. Yeah, so apparently I heard it's 24 degrees Celsius, so it has dropped down from 26 to 24, so it is cooling down quite a bit. But what's amazing is normally with impala, you do find them in quite open areas. Now, I do know some of you have probably seen a kudu before, maybe a nyala, and you've noticed that they have those vertical stripes, but with impala, if you notice the colors on them, it looks like they have these horizontal stripes. So normally an animal that occurs more in an open area would have horizontal stripes, with those in denser areas would have the vertical stripes, which is really nice to see. So for now, we're going to leave this big herd and carry on. We're going to look out for cheetah and wild dog this afternoon. Oh, look at the male just chasing the female. See how he's all like grabbing them and bringing them back together. But for now, while we're looking at these impala, let's head across to James with some wildebeest.
Here are some wildebeest. Another species of antelope that we get here. One of 9 species of antelope that we get here. And we're very excited to have them. As I said yesterday, they've done very well to get through the last little while, because they've raised most of their babies successfully, and that's great because they often get eaten by all the lions. David, just very quickly, there's a carpenter bee You see him? Yes. He seems to be trying to get the pollen out of these devil's horn flowers. What a magnificent bee he is. He went left. Now he is there. And now he is there. Middle patch there. Yeah, there he is. See what he's doing? He's landing on the outside of each flower, and he's not actually going inside the flowers, I don't think. No, he's not. He's digging into the nectaries of the flowers through a little hole. He's digging a little hole there. Have you got him? He's just behind the barn. Oh, he's behind the barn, naturally, and he's settled so nicely there. I've got him. You got him? There we are. Just see him. Now, what we're going to do, just wait for him to move off. See what he's doing? He's digging into the nectary there, and I'll show you, actually. I'll go and pick one of those flowers, and we'll show you where he got into the flower. Now, I think that he's cheating, because I suspect quite strongly, yes, I suspect quite strongly that this flower has invested in growing these little landing strips, if you like, and insects are able to see that, and it shines like ultraviolet light, which some of you won't understand, but a lot of you will. And basically it's like a very bright light for them, and they'll look for that and they'll fly in, and as they walk in, what happens is they'll pick up the pollen off the top of the plant and then fly out and fly into another plant, and that's how the flower will become pollinated, and that's how the seeds are formed. That's not so important. What is important is that that carpenter bee is not doing his job. What he's doing, instead of moving into the plant to get at the nectar down in the bottom, he's actually just drilling a hole. And if you look very carefully at the top of my finger, you can see a slit. And that slit has been dug there by the carpenter bee. And so this flower is getting absolutely no help from the bee whatsoever. Isn't that interesting? So what a lot of flowers do is they have this nectary that attracts insects. They have a special runway for the insects to come down. The insects, bees or flies, will fly in here, go to the nectary, but in going to the nectary, they'll pick up the pollen and then fly into another flower and so provide fertilization services. This carpenter bee is cheating. He's not going into the nectary. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if you showed this to the great wildlife trackers of South Africa, if they'd be able to say, yes, I know exactly what happened to that flower. It was a carpenter bee. Fascinating, eh? May not have been a carpenter bee, but I think it was a carpenter bee. All right, let's go back to Lauren now. I think she's caught up with the giraffe.
I have 3 giraffes. These are the females. I think the one James showed you earlier were the males. And James was just telling you about pollination. Believe it or not, giraffes are actually pollinators. And they're believed to be one of the only mammal pollinators, because normally it's insects, including moths and butterflies and bats, that are your pollinators. Giraffes actually pollinate a tree called the knobthorn. And it's a wonderful tree out here. It's one of my favourite. And when it flowers in spring, it produces the most delicious smelling, creamy yellow flowers. And giraffes just love them. Their diet is about 40% of these flowers. Hello. Yes. But those flowers are not in bloom at the moment. So you would not think that many mammals are responsible for pollination, but giraffes are. And you can see she's just feeding with an oxpecker on her head. How pleasant. One more time, Kirsten. One more time. Shay, you're 9 years old from London and you're asking me what is a copy. Oh, yes, sorry, I understand that one. I apologize. Oh, copy. That's in the giraffe family, believe it or not. So, in a copy, I'll try and see if I can bring up a photo for you. And that would help a lot if I could actually show you one. I'm not sure if I have one, but I'll try. And it's part of the giraffe family, the same family that we do find giraffes in. But sadly, we don't. Aha, I have one for you. Just give me 1 second, Owen. And I'm going to bring it up. It's a bizarre looking animal, but you can actually see similarities to giraffes when you look at it. Okay, I've got it ready. I thought Christian was saying a khaki. What is a khaki? This is an okapi, and you can see it's got a very stripy bum. Looks like a zebra from behind, really, but if you look at the skull and the sort of ossicones, if you just take away the rest of the body and just look at the skull there, you can see that it's very, very similar looking to a giraffe. It does have a long neck, but nowhere near as long as these giraffes, and of course it's more the size of a zebra than it is a giraffe, but it's part of the same family. Great question, Shay. I hope the London weather is treating you well and you still have that sunshine. I believe you are. But giraffes are actually listed as vulnerable. And I think okapis are also endangered. So all animals out here, not okapis of course, are actually found in the Congo, which is more Central Africa. We're down in South Africa. And it's very, very closely related to the giraffe, but they're both endangered in their own right. We see plenty of giraffes out here, but globally, they are all vulnerable. Now, I'm going to just stay here a little bit longer and listen, because I think there might be a leopard in this area. And as I do that, we are going to send you back across to James, who I believe has a white bird for you all.
We have got a cattle egret. And this is not a bird we commonly see here. It's not a very rare bird, but it's not a bird we commonly see here, and it's such a lovely colour. Well, it's white. It's not an amazing colour, I suppose. But give it credit, you know. I mean, it's a good-looking bird. Now, the reason we know it's a cattle egret, because there are very similar looking egrets around, is mainly its size. It's got a yellow beak with a slightly black tip to it, and it's got black legs. So that makes it a western cattle egret. The other egret we could get is a yellow-billed egret, where that would have two-toned legs, and it would also be a little taller than that one. And then the great egret, which is substantially larger than that particular egret. So, this bird is also known as the tick bird, which is a little silly because it doesn't eat ticks like oxpeckers eat ticks. It just walks around behind big herds of herbivores quite often. Not so much in this part of the world, but in East Africa you see them all over the place, walking around in massive flocks through the grasslands where the buffalo walk or where the elephants walk. And they pick up whatever the herds unearth. He's quite a handsome fellow. And there's some Egyptian geese in the background doing a bit of rock climbing. Adam and Maddie in Ireland are wondering what the best season for Watty is. For finding animals. Adam and Maddie, I'm not going to continue in my Irish accent because I tried a Welsh one the other day and I came across as somebody who lives in Mumbai, India. Just listening. need to quickly drive, everybody. I can hear impala shouting their heads off, not far from here. Adam and Maddie, the best time of the year to find animals is probably in September and October, when there are no leaves on the trees, and the grass is very short, and the rain hasn't come yet, and so the water is all concentrated in sort of small areas, and so all the animals have to come down to drink at the same places, and the predators therefore know that, and they come and they hunt there. So September, October is probably the easiest time of the year to find animals. But the big difference, or the tricky part of that time of the year, is that it's not beautiful like it is here now, right? So it looks beautiful here, it's green, there are flowers around, and it looks pretty, but it doesn't look pretty in September and October. Well, it can if you are used to it, but if you're not used to it, then it's sometimes a little ugly. Alright, we're just going to see if the impalas are shouting at something worthwhile while you go across back to Nicky at Ngala and see what he's having a look at there.
So we just spotted this massive eagle on top of this tree. Now, if you look at the size of the bill, and also like if I had to compare him, he's nearly like a meter, probably not a meter, but almost a meter from the tip of his feathers to the top of his head. It's a big martial eagle. Just look at the back of his head. You'll see there's a little crest and a very sharp beak. Now this is quite a big eagle that you find in the area. And I wonder if this eagle is using that maybe as a little vantage point, because he'll often go for a small antelope, maybe like young impala, maybe steenbok, maybe a scrub hare, anything his or that size and smaller, but a very big eagle. You can see there is a little breeze blowing and actually pushing that little crest up. And also look, like right in front of the chest, there's quite a lot of like white, it almost looks like dawn feathers moving. But the back and the color of that tree is very, very similar. It'd be interesting to see if this eagle turns around, because it has this beautiful white chest and belly with like this small spots across the chest and on the belly. Now we came into this area to try and see if we can look out for any possible wild dog or maybe cheetah. And one of the things we were looking out for was vultures that could possibly give us an indication if there's a predator in the area. And as we were driving, we saw this eagle, but almost the size of a vulture. Just look at that, staring very intently, probably just scanning between the trees, maybe amongst the grass to see if there's anything moving. So we're going to carry on, leave him be, but a beautiful bird. For now, let's head across to James with two impalas ratting.
They are rutting. Unfortunately, they're about to walk into the home of the landowner. They should be all right now. There's no more alarm calling, so maybe it was just impala rutting, shouting at each other. We had these two earlier. They didn't look like they actually were going to have a physical fight, but they might now. The one looks like he's desperate to give up. Bit of belching, burping at each other. The one leaving his glandular markings on the tree, showing the tree who's boss. Lily impalas are very, very fast. They can probably run almost as fast as your dad's car, but not quite. That's pretty fast. Come on, chaps. either back off or have a fight, but this dancing about is tiresome. Great burping and dancing fight. The one on the left apparently is the underdog, according to my wife in the final control room. The underram. Ooh, the underram seems to have found a bit of courage, but not much. Now what they'll probably do, in order to really irritate us, is have a fight behind that bush, so we can't see it happen. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, I don't think that one's very interested. Let's keep going up to the top here. I've been doing this now for a good 15 minutes. Ian, impala have long horns because this is what they use them for. They use them to fight with each other, to intimidate each other. So one's got very small horns, he will be afraid of one with very long horns. And I wonder if it doesn't maybe also attract the ewes. I think we've had a bit of a switch here. The underram seems to have found his courage and is now forcing home an attack, although attack would be a very strong term for what we're witnessing here. Still there's some burping and belching, very little action, and they're now going back to... Whoa, that was close. Almost a threat. This looks like it could escalate into an actual physical confrontation, probably just as they go behind the vehicle. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in for battle royale. Fortunately, one of them's just noticed us. What a bunch of idiots. Oh, we have to get back down the hill because they're going the other way. Now that's the sound we heard, in case you were wondering, when we were looking at that egret. There, now they're hitting each other. And here comes the cheerleader to burp them along, belching with encouragement. They hit each other once. He's actually telling them to get on with it, I think. Amazing sound, eh? That was close. Probably a lion behind us. It isn't. So I think that's what we were hearing down there by the water. What a noise. And now behind the bush again. So that fence is where the landowner has his home. That's his dog you can hear in the background. Jaden, I think they can see probably about as well as you can, except much better in the dark and not as well in colour. So you can see colour, unless you're one of the unfortunate few who is colour blind. And they can't see in colour, but they'll see much better at night than you can. Alright, I think we're going to move on from here and carry on around, perhaps see the little grebes, but we'll go past another waterhole on the way. Lauren's still with the giraffe. Let's go over to them.
I took a bit of a long way round for a shortcut, but I managed to catch up with the giraffes. It's not the best visuals, but they are there. They're right in a block, just happily feeding away, towering above everything else in the vicinity, and munching on all the delicious foliage that not many other animals can eat. Now, I mentioned earlier that giraffes are vulnerable and okapis are endangered. Now, there's a really useful tool that everyone of all ages can actually utilize online. And of course, if you are a kid, make sure you get your mummy and daddy's permission or help before going online. But there's a website, and it's called Iucn Red List.org. And IUCN stands for the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. And there's a search box. Right away, as soon as you go on the website, there's a search box. And you can type in any single animal, from birds to mammals to fish to coral, anything, frogs, snakes. I will tell you the status of that animal. And the status will either be from least concern, which means there's no need to worry about that animal globally, the populations are healthy, or it can be critically endangered, which means there's not many animals left and they really, really need protection. But it's not localized, so what that means is the information this website gives you is based on a global estimate. So you may find that some animals are in trouble and the populations are decreasing in one country, but in another country they'll be fine. So the website is based on global estimates and it gives you some fantastic information, everyone. So if you are interested, IUCNRedList.org, and you can type in any single animal that you wish. And it's believed that global wild giraffe populations have actually declined by as much as 40% in the last 30 years. So that is worrying. They are endangered, I'm afraid, but we are lucky to obviously have many, many giraffes gracing us with their presence. And there's 4 different species of giraffes, believe it or not. Lauren, what a great name, Lauren. Awesome name. I love it. Great choice by your parents. You're 12 years old from South Africa and you're asking about pollination because I mentioned that earlier. So they're pollinators of the knobthorn. So specifically the knobthorn tree. I can't immediately see any knobthorns around me, but when I do, I'll try to show you one. It's also known as the tree of life, and they love the flowers. So they go to eat the knobthorn flowers, which smell so lovely. They're my favorite flower out here. And as they do that, they of course get pollen attached to their face. And I'm sure James was explaining the process of pollination. And then they go to another tree to eat more flowers. And then what they're actually doing is transferring the pollen from tree to tree. They get it on their head, they get it on their neck, and they're depositing the pollen on every single tree they visit. So it may seem a costly way for the tree to actually pollinate itself by allowing the giraffe to eat the flowers in order to pollinate. But they produce a mixture of flowers, and some are actually sterile, which means it doesn't really matter if the giraffe eats them or not. It's not going to affect the tree. So it's a really, really short flowering season for the knobthorn. I'm definitely going to try to find you one at some point in this drive. And the giraffes could never, ever eat all the flowers. And that's why the knobthorn still survives and thrives, and the giraffes get to eat all the delicious flowers, and the trees become pollinated, or the flowers, get pollinated. Now, the giraffes are not actually meaning to pollinate the flowers. They don't know that they're doing that. It's indirectly. They just get the pollen all over their heads and necks and their ossicones and their lips, and by the time they reach the tree, they're passing it on. So they're said to be one, if not the only, mammal pollinator. And it's fascinating because they do such a good job of it. And they don't really get recognized for being pollinators either, whereas insects do. And of course they can fly, but giraffes walk great distances. They're said to cover about 16 kilometres per day, and that's how they're able to visit so many different trees. So we're going to leave these giraffes now, and we are going to head west, but I believe Taylor at Eco-Train in Karongwe has a spotty surprise for you all.
Hello everybody and welcome to Karongwe Game Reserve, where we are sitting with a female cheetah and her 2 cubs. I'm not going to worry too much about introducing myself, but I am Taylor, and on camera with me today is Alex because, well, these are just so adorable, and we've been trying for a day and a half now to get another view of these beautiful, beautiful animals. This is incredible. So like I said, we're just sitting at a private game reserve. We're not too far away from where all the other safari guides are driving. And I know that you've already seen some incredible animals, but sure, wow. I can't even begin to tell you how lucky you are, for all of those of you that are watching, how special it is to see cheetah in the wild. Now remember to send through your questions if you are at home and watching with your families today. Hello, Avi, you're 5 years old and you're all the way from India. That's so good that your parents were able to send through this question for you. Now, cheetah are very, very difficult to find in the wild. And we're lucky here because we've been following this female cheetah and her cubs now since they were born. So they are between 1.5 months and 2 months old. So they're tiny little babies. And cheetah in general, unfortunately, there's not many of them left in the world. A lot of the cheetah that used to occur all over Africa have actually disappeared, Avi. So to see this is very, very special. And I've only just recently, in the last few days, seen cheetah that are this small. Before that, I've never seen such young little cheetahs. So I'm so happy that you are with me, and this is the best view we've had of them too. They've been hiding away in very thick vegetation. Also, when I say vegetation, Avi, I'm talking about the trees and the grasses and the flowers and all the different types of plants that occur in this area. So that mom is getting very, very used to the vehicle now. It's taken her a little bit of time, but it's getting better and better. Now, another question from a lovely young lass named Lily, all the way from England. You've probably, maybe if you've been watching for the last little while, watching WildEarth and these live safaris, you've maybe seen a lion roar, or perhaps you've watched on television and you've seen tigers roaring as well, heard them. So Lily, no, cheetah, funny enough, they cannot roar. So they can't do a big I can't do a roar very well, but I'm sure you can imagine what they sound like. I can't do that very well. Instead, they sound like birds. Now, I know you probably think that I'm talking absolute nonsense, but when they communicate, when they talk to one another, they chirp. They make chirping sounds. And that's got to do with their type of voice box. So it does get a little bit complicated, but essentially what happens, Lily, is that the cheetah's voice box, like us, you know, that allows us to speak, it can't expand. It can't get as bigger, and it can't stretch very well like a lion or a tiger's voice box can, or a jaguar's voice box can, and that allows them to speak. So instead, cheetah, they can growl, of course, so they can make a growling sound, but they make these very high-pitched noises. Maybe, just maybe, if we sit here for long enough, we will be able to hear mom talking to the little ones, or maybe the little ones chatting to one another. But I say this, Lily, and it's very, very rare to hear cheetahs making those noises, because people normally want to stay quite quiet. They don't want to announce to everybody in the bush and say, hey, I'm over here. They want to stay nice and hidden, especially something like a cheetah that is not as big as powerful like a hyena or a lion and a leopard. And you can find all those animals here at Karongwe. Natalia, hopefully we can get another little view of these cheetah, but if you look very, very carefully, you can already see that the cheetah is starting to get their spots. So once they get to about 5 or 6 months old, you're going to see that black and white fluff starting to really disappear. And you won't believe it. When they're at about 8 or 9 months, they're almost as big as the adults. They grow so quickly. It's very, very important for animals out here to start to grow. So they're not going to get their spots all of a sudden and shed all their fur. It's going to take them a little bit of time, but as we watch them, we can maybe do a photo comparison and see almost day by day or week by week how long it takes them and how they start to develop their spots. Right, I'm definitely not going anywhere. Off you go back across to the Sabi Sand with James.
Got these cute little elephants now, and I'm wondering if they aren't twins. They look like they're exactly the same age. Well, not that one. David, that's a different one, I think, although it's the same age as the other two that we were looking at. And that one has got two friends that are a bit closer by to us. And there they are. It's not a great picture of them, but they look exactly the same size, and they're with one elephant cow, so it's possible that they're twins. Maybe even triplets. Shall I just try and sneak forward a little bit, because we'll get a nice view of them. They might react slightly, but then they'll calm down again. Just do that. Hello, Layla. You're 10 years old and wondering what the largest animal you'll find here is. This is the largest animal you'll find. Well, when he grows up, he'll be the largest animal we find. Elephants are the largest land mammals in the world. And the only animals that are bigger than elephants are some whale species, but they all live in the sea. And there's no sea here in the Kruger National Park, or in the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, or in the Sabi Sands. So the biggest animals are these chaps here. And a big bull elephant will weigh 6 tons. That's much more than a car, depending on the car, of course. And the little one there, I'm going to say he probably weighs about 300 kilograms. And Layla, if you're 10 years old, I'm going to guess that you probably weigh in the region of maybe 18 kilograms, plus minus. Let's call it 20. We'll assume that you're quite tall. 20 kilos. So that elephant there is at least 15 of you. Probably 15 to 20 of you. That little elephant walking away. Luke, everyone knows that elephants are scared of mice. That's not true, Luke. It's a big legend that elephants are scared of mice. I'm just gonna... I haven't run away, I promise. I'm still here. There I am. I'm just getting out of the way so you can see the elephant. Luke, elephants are scared of quite a few things, actually. I wouldn't say scared, they're wary. They're very defensive of their babies. And so if they come across lions, they don't like that. They'll shout at the lions. If they come across wild dogs or hyenas, also they'll shout at them and make a big noise, even though the chances of them being eaten by lions are very small, or hyenas. So they're not really scared of much, truly. They are scared of human beings, though. If I got out of this car and I started making a noise, they'd most likely all run away. Or they'd become so afraid that they'd attack me. But it's mostly people that they're afraid of. Right, we can now take questions from everybody. You can send those through to the hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise, the YouTube chat stream or Twitch chat streams will work just as well. Kids, you can carry on sending your questions as well if you'd want to. Anyone can now send questions. Another wonderful elephant encounter. We have been so lucky. Now, I think that we are especially treated and especially fortunate today to have those gorgeous little cheetah cubs. So let's go back to them.
I think today is going to be a very good day. Welcome back, everyone. We're sitting here watching two adorable cheetah cubs play around and jump about on one another. Look how amazing this is. Mom doesn't seem to be too perturbed, so this is actually quite interesting. She's becoming more and more relaxed with the vehicles and the idea of us viewing her in the car with her youngsters. You might be able to hear some rumbling. We've had it every time we've been down with this female cheetah and her youngsters. All it is that it is one of the main roads that navigates through a lot of these, through these wilderness areas in sort of like the Greater Kruger area. Obviously, people need to navigate around. And this particular fence line, for those of you that don't know the story of this cheetah female, she arrived here last year, but she pretty much moved straight down into the southern section of Karongwe Game Reserve. And there's not a huge predator density in the terms of lions. They seem to stick up further north along the Mukutsi River and a couple of other systems, and she feels relatively safe down here in the south. So she moved down here. She then gave birth down here. This is her first litter of cubs, and she hunts fairly regularly. We've had her on an impala kill not too long ago too. So she likes the fence line. She often walks the fence line. In fact, today I was told by a truck driver, he waved me down and mass hysteria saying that he saw cheetah. Can you imagine how incredible that is? You're driving your truck on your way to work to drop, whether it may be a food delivery vehicle, and he got to see a cheetah. I think that's pretty awesome. Not everybody can afford to go on a safari, so I'm so chuffed, and I bet that fella is going to have lots of stories to tell his family tonight. But look at them go. They're really getting excited now. They've got little pot bellies, so they must have had a nice feed of milk, and now they've got a burst of energy. Brandon, so most big cats are actually born completely helpless in the sense that they can't see, so they are 100% reliant on their mothers for everything, and it's normally for a week to 14 days, so for up to 2 weeks before they really start wriggling around and are able to see. It's the same thing with some bird species as well. They're born completely helpless, no feathers, eyes are closed, and then you get birds, other bird species that need to be on the go and don't need to rely too much on parental care, and once they've hatched they can do their thing. So that's why this female cheetah is also going to be quite nervous. Why they're born with their eyes closed and completely blind for a little while, I have absolutely no idea. But when you're this coloration and at this time of the year, you kind of just blend into the vegetation. And because they're not going to be moving around very much when they're only a few days old, maybe making a few little squeaks here and there, they sit relatively still and are not going to go wandering off. It's amazing how instinct kind of kicks in for them too, and they don't want to go wandering off. But now you can see it almost 2 months old or so. They are developing their muscles. They're definitely balancing on their feet quite well. And if they continue to play like that, they're going to end up being incredible athletes just like their mother. That little one is looking at us, and the other one is very concerned about having a drink. There we go. They might even fight over the best teat now, which one's got the best milk. Candace, shame, this poor female cheetah. Well, actually, you know what? She's quite lucky because she's only got 2 cubs. Sometimes cheetah can have, 5 or 6 cubs, which can then be a bit of a nightmare for the mother. And I suppose the same thing goes with all big cat species, is these young cheetah are going to get very excited and are wanting to join in on the hunts from a very young age. Curiosity and natural instinct kicks in, so they might start chasing things like squirrels now, or small birds or even beetles. They'll find fascination in the smallest of things, or even just a piece of grass blowing in the wind. So as they play, like we just saw, they're also honing in on their hunting sort of techniques. But ideally, Mom's going to bring back, this is the most amazing thing I think about cheetah, is that Mom will start to bring back prey. Obviously not huge prey, but maybe if it's something like a steenbok or a duiker in this area, and she's not going to kill it completely. And these cubs will learn from quite a young age. Obviously at this age they're not going to do much damage to a duiker or a steenbok. They probably still have their milk teeth. And they're going to learn how to suffocate prey. It's sometimes, maybe some people will say it's not humane, but it's wild. It's wildlife. And it kind of just is what it is. So the animal doesn't necessarily, the prey species I'm talking about, doesn't necessarily die very quickly as it may if it was, say, a lion catching a small animal species like a steenbok or a duiker. So yeah, so it's going to take them quite a while. And the bigger the cheetah get, like I said, from about 8-9 months old, man, they're huge. And they're obviously not quite as athletic as the female, but they're going to keep trying, and they're probably going to ruin quite a few hunts for the mother. We see that a lot with lions too. We're definitely not going to go anyway. We're going to discuss this hot topic a little bit later. James has found my absolute favorite animal.
So good.
I'm afraid the best shot we've got is this elephant behind us now, covering herself in dust. And it's straight through where the antenna for the car is. Well, there's really nothing we can do because I can't move, she's too close. And it's quite entertaining to watch her blow sand on herself. Elephants all around us now. Ones, showing them what to eat and where to eat it. There's teaching going on here all the time, I think. Brooke, you'll read that elephants like to do that because apparently what it does is it helps them get rid of ectoparasites, so ticks basically. I don't buy that. I just can't see. I mean, look, a number of animals put dust on themselves. Maybe it helps a little bit with getting rid of ticks and that sort of thing, but I'm just not convinced. I think they really like the feeling of sand on their skins. Maybe it helps a little bit. This elephant was also throwing some sand on us. And now, why must you be behind us? Let me just try and maneuver ourselves a little bit so that we can see what's going on without having to look through a barrier of technical equipment. Sorry, my dear, we just want to have a look at you, I promise. And you got yourself into a dreadful position. Yes, you did. Nothing I can do. You know us by now. You know where the camera is. You know what we want to see. No, they do their heads a little bit, but they don't shake the rest of their bodies. If you watch their skin, it doesn't flick like a cat or a dog skin does. or even an impala skin. And I think that their skin, although it doesn't look it, is tighter than you'll find on a cat or a dog's. So, you know, they don't give that kind of shake that gets rid of everything. If you watch an impala in this stage, there's always a slight flick of the skin, just a twitch. And I think that's probably to get rid of flies. She's using her tail there to scratch a little bit. She's got a bit of a growth there. Looks like a giant zit. I don't think it is a giant zit. If it is, it's about to burst, and I don't want to be anywhere near it when it does. It's a wound, but it does look a bit pussy. A pussy wound. You can see it's bugging her though. And I think what she's doing maybe is keeping the flies off it. Let's see if a fly tries to land there. Or she's just giving it a scratch. Oh, it's a nasty little suppurating wound. I wonder what happened to her. Maybe she was spiked by a bush. More babies. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, hello. Just noticed us, have you? Come and say hi. Be polite. No, not very polite, this young bull. Might be a young cow. I can't tell whether it's a bull or a cow at that age. I suspect that you can tell from the way they behave, though. The bulls are just that much more inquisitive, almost from birth. Let us now go up to andBeyond Ngala, where Nikki is in the bed of the Timbavati River, driving.
So we tried to see if there was any signs of wild dogs, and oh, there's actually an elephant. Just want to see if we can carry on a little bit on in the river, and then maybe see if we can get him from the side and see what he might be up to. But I was about to say, we're looking for wild dogs in cheetah. We scanned a few of the open grasslands. Unfortunately, we weren't lucky, so we've moved into the river to give it a bit of a leopard search. And then from there on, we'll head across those lines. But let's just see what this elephant is up to. It's quite a big elephant. Wow, look at that. Just stop quickly. Just look at the size of his trunk. Like, I mean, if you look at the base, close to his teeth, it's a massive elephant. And you can see his whole forehead is covered with a little bit of sand. And also notice the sleep in his eyes. Let's see when he picks that grass, if he would hit it against his chest and then put it in his mouth. Have a look. Often with elephant bulls, they tend to do that, especially in the rivers. And I'll explain that now. Let's just have a look and see if it happens. Wraps his trunk around, pulls the grass. Let's see if he just hits it against his chest. Ah, there we go. Ava, you asked a very good question. Do elephant bulls leave the herd, or are they actually kicked out? Now, what I've noticed is that, oh, look at him just rubbing his eye. Might have got a bit of sand in his eye. So what I've noticed from elephants, especially the youngsters, when they get to around about, the young bulls, when they get to around 16 years of age, there's a lot of pressure from the matriarch in order to try and push them out. And then whenever they move away from the herd, they're pretty stressed, and they can often, you can hear them in the distance calling, trying to join up with the rest of the herd again. But slowly but surely, the herd will start pushing him away, and then from there on, he'll start and join up with other elephant bulls. But I just wanted to explain what he's doing here. So every time he hits that grass against his chest or his legs, he's trying to dislodge a bit of the sand, because with elephants, they eventually die because of starvation, because their teeth get worn down to such a stage where they can't properly chew and digest their food. And so for him, every time he hits the grass or the sand off, it means that he is actually looking after his teeth. I can just imagine why he decided on the riverbed. So based on the sand on his head, it probably tells me that he came into the river to have a drink. And as he was on his way out, you'll see just behind him, there's a little game trail, or quite a biggish game trail. So a game trail is just an area that animals would use to get back and forth into the river. And he was probably on his way there, and he stumbled across like a little section of sweet cry in the area. But even look back, there's this fine layer of sand on his back. But I think what we'll do is we'll probably leave him be, let him carrying on to feed. He'll probably have to feed still quite into the evening, maybe into the morning, and then probably head back for some water. But for now, let's head across to Taylor with those cheetah.
So we're still here with the cheetah. Sorry, I'm in a compromising position. You can have a look how we've just basically pulled off the road. I just want to show you. Very, very thorny tree here. We've got a buffalo thorn that has basically captured us. But it's okay. We're surviving. The things that we do for good wildlife viewing. I'm going to drop my head very quickly so I don't get into the camera's way. So we are still sitting with the cheetah. And they've had a big drink now. They have been cycling pretty much since she last left us. They've been having a drink. And now, I think, what I would do if I ate a big meal, and as do all predators do, I'm going to have a little sleep now. And I bet that this female cheetah is very excited. Did you see how her ears just pricked there for a moment? So cubs have gone to sleep, but she's still very, very focused. And I was speaking to one of the researchers that were going up and down, also trying to find her. They found her for me, as well as the truck driver gave us some intel on where to go searching for her. I think she's hungry, and I think she's going to use this opportunity, this nice, cool, windy day, to try and get something to eat. But she's also on high alert because she's a cheetah, and unfortunately predators rank quite low down on the predator hierarchy. And she's got 2 little cubs, so of course. So it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. In between game drives, she managed to catch a female impala, and she ate most of it. So she's definitely still full. I don't know if you remember, it was quite difficult to view her, but her stomach had completely ballooned out. It did look like she'd swallowed a beach ball. And I think that cheetah are probably the most hilarious if you've ever seen a cheetah after it's gorged on whatever animal it's managed to capture. So that was good for her. The cubs were also there. We also saw them munching on a bit of meat. Again, I don't think that they were ingesting very much. I think they're just getting the taste, getting used to it. They're definitely still suckling. But it meant that, of course, Mom's mammary glands could fill nicely so that these little sweethearts could have a nice drink. But now she needs to get something else. Now, Donna, goodness gracious, I don't even want to discuss dominance with this cheetah, or these 2 cheetah cubs, because the likelihood, and I'm very sorry to say this, I know I may sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer, but the likelihood of these cubs actually making to adulthood is slim to none. 90% of most cheetah cubs don't make it to adulthood, which is quite sad. But I say this The reserve that we are on, it's fantastic. It's probably one of the most beautiful reserves I've seen, especially with the Drakensberg backdrop and the huge river systems here. And this section of the reserve, like I was saying earlier, there's a low predator density and it's very thick. Have you noticed? Can we have a quick zoom out just to show everybody how dense it is? We're in a little drainage line at the moment. Look at this. I mean, you've seen us. We were completely engorged by this tree. This is not, I use this term normal cheetah territory, right? Every time I bet you've seen a video of a cheetah, or you've seen a picture of a cheetah, it's been out in the open. Probably in the Masai Mara or the Serengeti type of ecosystem. So open plains where, of course, they are very well adapted for hunting. Very difficult for them because out in those open plains, there's not really much for them to sort of hide their cubs around. They normally use rocky outcrops. But in an area like this, she has got, I think, a better chance of successfully raising her cubs. And if she keeps away from the big pride lines that roams around on Karongwe, she's going to have an even better chance if she stays out of trouble from the leopards. If the leopards don't find where she stashes her cubs, she's going to have an increased chance. So fingers crossed that they do make it to adulthood. If one survives, I think that'll be fantastic, but who knows? Let's see, they're still sleeping. You see, they don't even respond to the sound of my voice anymore, which is good. I'm happy to see that. I mean, they're curious and they're constantly wanting to look around, but this just goes to show you how awesome it is that we can be not very far away from a female cheetah with very young cubs and they're quite happy to go to sleep. And she's got her back turned to us. So just in case you were slightly concerned that we maybe were disturbing her, you can see that she doesn't mind us at all. The fact that I'm talking and none of her ears are facing my direction also means I think she's heard something. Let's see. Now she's just listening around. So, yeah, let's see how this lovely lass goes. She's also a first-time mother. She has never had cubs before. So she hasn't got any experience in raising cubs, and I definitely think that has something to do with the survival rate of cheetah. But let's hope that it's going to be a good litter for her. Right. I think I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer and then we'll probably let them carry on with their day. James is still frolicking about with a herd of elephants.
I'm not doing a great deal of frolicking. I'm certainly sitting here with these elephants, enjoying them very much. We've had a lovely time. They just carried on feeding and I've been watching that little one there. Naturally, Nada's decided to stop. It was digging little holes for itself on the road and then picking up the sand and throwing it all over itself, while all the others just feed very quietly around us. And as I've always said, it is just so peaceful to be around these animals when they are relaxed. Luke, baby elephants find it entertaining, I think, to test themselves against the vehicle. So within the safety of the herd, they like to test themselves. It's just the same as a human being who, let's say, think of a young boy who challenges a much older boy or a man to a running race. He says, I bet you I'm faster than you, even though there's absolutely no ways he is going to be anything close to as fast. But he's got this idea that he needs to test himself. He's become aware of the fact that he's got some physical strength, if you like, and now he wants to test it. And I think it's exactly the same sort of thing. Young bull or young cow sometimes, but I think it's mainly the young bulls, suddenly become aware of their, I suppose, social standing almost within the herd, or their physical being a little more than they had before, and then now they want to test it. And so I liken it very much to when a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old says, I'm really fast at running, I'll race you. And my nephews have done it regularly. My nephews are now 7 and 5, and both of them think that they are faster than Usain Bolt. And I think it's the same thing. Just trying to test himself. And then, of course, they're normally quite embarrassed when they're unable to kind of provoke a reaction from the vehicles they're trying to charge. There's something interesting going on here. Elephants are running from that side. Here comes a big cow behind us. She's looking nervous. Tails out. Either they've seen a big bull. They're all running suddenly. And see something moving through there? Are those kudu moving down there, Dave, or they're lions?
Kudu.
Kudu running.
This way.
Not alarm calling, running this way. Something freaked them all out. Gone. Let's just quickly drive in here. How weird was that? That was the cow there behind us that just stopped. But interestingly, the grey go-away birds have been saying quack, quack for some time. But if there was a predator here, you'd expect the kudu to alarm call. Maybe they just fright. Unless, as Kirsten says, it was wild dogs. Or she says, maybe they saw a mouse. While we try and figure it out, I think let's pop across to Lauren, who's got two beautiful birds for you.
I have a pair of Pterathopius ecudatus. Yes, one of my favourite Latin names. Two battle ears. Marvellous face, no tail. That's what the Latin name means, and it's exactly true. They have marvellous faces, and, well, they do actually have tails. They're just very, very short. We've got the male at the front, and the female sitting a little bit further behind. A monogamous pair. On the leadwood, the dead leadwood of Leadwood Road that they're always on. They're just so magnificent, I can't actually drive past battle ears. Not true eagles, they're snake eagles. They've got bare little legs, the feathers don't go all the way down. But at the Impala today, we can obviously see that carcass from our camp. And the first to arrive on the scene was a battle ear. As always, the battle ears are first. Flying all day long, using their really keen eyesight to spot anything on the ground. Battle ears are normally first on the scene. They swoop in, take whatever they can. Normally it's the eyes, I'm afraid, which is not a pleasant thing to think about, I know. And then they will fly right back out again. Has this one got his eyes closed? Is it having a little snooze up there? Oh, yes, it has. It had his eyes closed. Oh. Having a little snooze. It's a very grey and gloomy day. I have just been talking about how it really is the perfect time for predators to be mobile. Really want to see a leopard. So the pair of battle ears have obviously been flying all day. They fly for long, long bouts during the day to spot whatever they can. They've got to compete with all the vultures. They've got to get in there before that feeding frenzy of vultures occurs. And they do that by just flying all day long. So they're probably exhausted, to be perfectly fair. You enjoy your little snooze, battle ear, with your wifey. I think they're maybe having a little bit of a domestic. They're sitting on separate branches. Leadwood is a perfect tree, even dead leadwood, because the wood is so dense, hence the name leadwood, that it can support the weight of heavy, heavy birds. White-backed vultures also use it for nesting as well. Look at the feathers on the legs. You can see they don't go all the way down to the ankles, though. Okay, I'm going to move on. I've got good feels for the southern boundary. But as I do that, it appears that Nikki, all the way at andBeyond Ngala, has a huge herd of buffalo.
So as we were driving along the river, just past that elephant bull that we saw earlier, we found this herd of buffalo. But it's a pretty big herd. I think there's close to 100 buffalo in this herd. And most of them, if I look through my binoculars, are really caked with mud. So they've probably been in the water earlier on in the day. Also, if I can ask, you see this one right in front of us? That female is. Look at how wide they are. Teeth missing. See that? Like the middle one. And you can see it looks like she's chewing something, but she's not really eating anything around her. So what she's doing is ruminating. So probably all the food that she's probably ate during the morning and into the afternoon, they're now sitting and she's bringing it up, chewing it and swallowing it again, just to break it down and so that she can just digest it a bit better. But it's the first time I've ever seen a buffalo without a middle tooth. Just look at all the flies around, like in between the horns and behind the ears. You can imagine that's why she's constantly moving her ears, trying to get rid of those flies. So for now, we're going to probably move past this herd of buffalo, but let's send you back to James with the juvenile eagle.
This is a juvenile martial eagle. You'll be astonished to hear, having heard Nikki just tell you that. And it is a massive bird, and it is the reason, not that the elephants ran, but that the grey go-away birds were going, wah! Because I can't see why else they would be shouting, and this would provide a good reason. Now, this is the biggest eagly we get over here. That one's a really nice example of an immature martial moving on to adult plumage, and you apparently saw the adult with Nikki a little bit earlier. They are so impressive. It's difficult to understand the size with it on the picture, but it's about 81 centimeters tall apparently, which is just shy of 3 feet. It's about 9 centimeters shy of 3 feet tall. I'm mixing my imperial and metric measures. Hopefully that's helping some people. So just under 3 feet. And a wingspan, I'm always impressed by the wingspan. Most people are impressed by the wingspan too. Let's see if they'll give it to us. Wingspan up to 2.4 meters. 2.4 meters is 7 feet? 7 and a bit feet? Which is an impressive wingspan, I think. And now there's a drongo that's deeply irritated by the presence of this marauding predator in his presence. Although there he comes. Yep, it hit his head. They are scared for nothing, the fork-tailed drongo. You can hear the francolin just chirping away, most likely in alarm. I still don't know why those elephants moved off like they did. Their communications are often a total mystery to us. Gremlins General, what an excellent question, truly. I mean, one of the best we've had. Do immature eagles make a lot of jokes and pranks? You mean like immature human beings might? Yes, they do. They do exactly that sort of thing. They tell bad jokes, they apple pie their friends' beds, they do nasty things like put cling wrap over the loo and that sort of stuff. You know, really immature, tiresome jokes. That's exactly why they're called immature martial eagles. Thank you for that, Gremlins General. Brilliant question. I'll be looking, hopefully, for one of those lizards that's living around the damn cam. I think we should go back to Taylor now. In fact, I don't think we should. I've been told that we're going to. So we're going to go back to Taylor and those lovely cheetah. I'll have one last squiz around here and then move on.
I think that's a phenomenal suggestion, James. You're such a genius. So we haven't moved, but we are going to move slowly. I just wanted to prepare you for the fact that we can't stay with Cheetah all afternoon. I do want to give her some privacy. She's been very kind to us this afternoon. And I really do think she wants to hunt. Look at the little one, fast asleep, just every now and then trying to sit up nicely to try and get one more mouthful of milk. But I reckon that those bellies are about to burst. Anyways, something that I thought would be quite interesting to watch is how these cheetah are going to learn how to hunt. So once they pass the point of mom bringing them back sort of partially killed prey, you know, sort of taking its last breath, and them learning how to tackle various antelope species and where to bite and all those types of things. But this game reserve, and I've expressed it more than once, is very, very thick. It is so dense. There are very few open areas here, so they can't hunt in their usual way, which I think is quite fascinating. And I think that we forget how highly adaptable wildlife actually is, and cats in particular. So cats have always been labeled, they need to hunt out in the open, they need to reach top speeds to be able to catch their prey. I can tell you right now that this cheetah is not reaching anywhere near between 90 and 100 kilometers per hour. Obviously it varies slightly, and I'm sure the speed at which a cheetah runs might vary to individual, as it does with humans. Well, you know, I can't run particularly fast, although when I see a spider, sometimes I do. But regardless of that, I think it's going to be fascinating hunting through this thick stuff, and I hope that we get to see some of it. And she seems to eat impala every time I've seen her on a kill, so I've now seen her on a kill twice. This is my whole experience with this cheetah. It's her preferred food. Joyce, just going back to these cheetah cubs, and earlier we were talking about where they stash their little ones. Yes, they do in fact use caves and sort of little rocky outcrops to hide their cubs when they're new in a den site. But in an area like this, the world is her oyster. There are so many different spots. I think it depends on what biome that they are in. Okay, we're in the savanna biome, but it's quite dense. There's a lot of trees, a lot of drainage lines. Again, where we have, and you see really good cheetah sightings. I think the Mara and the Serengeti are very, very well known for cheetah sightings, as well as going up into Namibia. But I haven't been up to Namibia, so I can't really talk about that area. But definitely in Kenya, they were using lots of granite, rocky outcrops pretty much all the time. There was one female that lived down in the southern sections of the Mara Triangle, almost on the border of the Serengeti, and she was using like these little granite outcrops. Again, it's so open, and the trees are so sparse, and you know, the places for them to hide their cubs is a lot more difficult than it is here. I think here she's lucky, and she's got so many different places that she can stash her little ones. So in this drainage line, I don't know where her exact den site is. I don't know if anyone actually knows where exactly it was. It could have been a whole bunch of trees. It could have been a little rocky outcrop. There are so many granite boulders here. It could have been in an area along a drainage line that may have eroded and formed some kind of natural cave. So we will never really know, but you can see just by looking at all the debris and the way in which the trees are growing around here, there's so many places for her to hide her little ones. Now, Melissa Poor. I wish I could show you the cheetah that are responsible for creating these two adorable cubs. There are 3 male cheetah that live here on Karongwe, an amazing coalition. They don't really mate for life. It's kind of like, again, we can go back to leopards and lions. Male cheetahs will have an area that they tend to patrol, and within their sort of area that they'll be walking around, cheetah can travel a huge distance. There might be a number of females living within that area. Remember, females typically live on their own, and males form coalitions but can also be solitary. So they won't mate for life. So if the dominant cheetah in that area hang about for a year and a new coalition of cheetah happen to move in and push those cheetah out, then then that female's going to have another partner. Obviously, the way that nature has designed it, female animals out here, they want the best potential mate. They want the best possibility, the best genetics, so that their offspring have the best chance of surviving. I mean, all these animals out here, they live to eat, they mate, and they reproduce, and that is the cycle. So what is happening right now, us watching these cheetah cubs, this is fantastic, especially for potential relocation programs, because they might not stay here forever. They might, maybe, we don't know the sexes of them just yet. We still need to get to that. Hopefully in the next few days we'll get, as they start getting more and more relaxed, we'll get closer and closer views. And I think they're still quite young to sort of sex, so we don't want to take a chance. But some of them might get sent to different areas to change up the gene pool, because genetics obviously very important, especially with cheetah. That took quite a knock many years ago. And a lot of cheetah, funny enough, are actually all related to one another if you did blood testing. So there's quite a few conservation efforts throughout Africa that are all working together to try and change up the population. So again, let's hope that these little ones make it to adulthood and can help with that genetic change-up. Perhaps they go to somewhere like Malawi or Chad, or I don't know, wherever. Maybe Malawi would be quite cool. Imagine seeing these cheetah here and them being moved on. Of course, I'm not saying that's where they're going. They're still really young. I'm just talking very quickly about Malawi, because at the moment they're doing huge relocation projects to try and repopulate the national parks there. One of the things that they have done was cheetah. They're doing amazing animals. Keep tabs on them. But I like this. We are gonna leave soon. It's miserable here today. The clouds are starting to drop a fair amount. You can have a look. I don't know if you can see up here. So the clouds were quite high, and we weren't too worried. But we're a fair distance away from home. And obviously we need to make sure that we protect all this camera equipment that we've got. And if it does start to rain, we will be in a bit of trouble. So I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to slowly reverse out. We're going to start heading a little bit further north, closer to home, so we don't get wet. I wonder if Ngala and Nikki are going to stay dry this afternoon.
So we left that herd of buffalo, and because it is cooling down and there is there's quite a few clouds building up, we want to head to those big male lions we saw this morning and maybe see if they start moving. It is cooled down, and often if it cools down, they might start moving. So we want to get into the area and then give it a good search. But as we head along in that area, we are going to go through quite a few areas that are nice and open, and often whenever we do a drive and we have this combination of quite dense areas that opens up to more of a grassland, it is an area to look out for wild dogs, because wild dogs tend to hunt in these dense areas towards the open areas, or maybe they start in the open areas through the dense areas and they go back into the open areas. So we'll keep a good look at it as we go along. And there's also quite a few impala around. There's actually one that I can spot not too far away from us. So which I won't say ideal, but it makes it an environment where we could possibly find wild dogs. And so we'll keep a good look out here as we are heading down to where those lions were seen this morning. I'm also carefully scanning to see if there's any other animals around at the moment. But I think, bearing in mind where those lions were, and they were roaring earlier this morning. Pickled Grammar, you're asking a very good question. Would you say South Africa is one of the most diverse, or are there more diverse places in Africa to see wildlife? Now, I would say South Africa is probably one of the most diverse places in Africa, and it boasts with quite a few unique ecosystems. So, I mean, if you would have gone, just to give you an idea, with South Africa, there's 9 different biomes that you find in South Africa. If you head to Cape Town area, so the far southern part of South Africa, you get to what is known as the fynbos, which is part of one of the 6 floral kingdoms of the world. So they estimate over 9,000 different plant species just within that area. Once you go to the central part, it starts becoming more of an arid area, more of a semi-desert type habitat. And then towards the central part, it's more grassland. And then when you go to the eastern side towards Durban, you know what I want to do is maybe let me quickly use a map. I think it's going to be a lot easier just to describe, to show you how diverse South Africa would be. Now, I just want to quickly grab the map here of South Africa, because it is, sorry, there's quite a few things I have to run through. All right, so if I grab this map here of South Africa, so you remember I said like towards Cape Town you get for one of the floral kingdoms, so this is the area right over here. This one, the biome on this side is called Albany Thicket, which is also really unique, and you do find quite a few special animals in that area as well. Up here there's the more dry areas. Here this side of South Africa, it's more grasslands, and then right over here it's a very diverse area. There's like a green belt that runs all the way along here, and you also find the Lubombo Mountains over here, and you find the Drakensberg Mountain that runs all the way along here. So the vegetation type between these two are very unique in its own way, as well as if you look up in this area right over here, very like Mozambique is on this side, and you have South Africa right over here, and it's all like situated, all the areas along this side here are situated in an area where there's quite a lot of diversity. So I would say South Africa, in terms of as a country, if you had to explore quite a bit, it's a very diverse country, where you also have 2 major currents that come down and they meet all together here. So you have here the warm current, this side the cold current, which you often get upwells that you find here. And then, of course, here it will be more diverse, quite a few coral reefs as well that you can do diving at. So it is a beautiful place. There are the other places, I mean, Botswana, Namibia, even if you go up to East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, they boast with quite a few beautiful places to go and have a look at. But I think in terms of general diversity, South Africa would probably be one of the most diverse places in Africa to visit. So for now, we are going to head straight to see if we can get those lions. But while we're doing that, let's head across to Lauren and hear what is she looking for and what is she searching for.
Good luck with your lions, Nikki. Good luck. To be honest, I'm searching for anything. Anything and everything. I've been trying to pick out some insects too. Why? Because winter's here, everyone. It's really here. I cannot believe how fast it arrived, and the difference I see in not only the diversity of the summer life, and that's the birds and the insects and the arachnids, including scorpions, spiders, ticks, also the vegetation. It's going to take a while, but the vegetation is slowly starting to recede. Winter is here, everyone, in true Game of Thrones style. And it's cold. I can't forget that part. Scotland temperatures are here. Yes, I will miss the scorching hot sun of summer. Now, I am heading to Ribbonsden. We normally find around 5 p.m. at night is the best time to go. She's a predictable one, Ribon. And of course, as many of you know, the cubbies are really starting to come out now. So I'm just taking the long way around, and then we're going to visit Ribbon. I haven't seen a single leopard track other than what I had this morning. Not one single track. But that's okay. I'm going to go and see my ribbon, and I wonder if any of the impala carcass from this morning will be sitting at Ribbon's den or in Ribbon's belly. Most likely in her belly, I would imagine. The hyenas are very well fed at the minute, I must say. Got lion kills, leopard kills all over, and the hyenas are definitely making the most of it. Now, because the impala males are rutting, as I'm sure you've seen, we also watched an attempt to mate yesterday or the day before. They exhaust themselves. They think on their mind only one thing, and that is the ladies. They will snort, they will exhaust themselves, they'll run, they'll fight, and they actually lose condition. It's almost as if they forget to eat. They are that obsessed on getting their ladies and keeping their ladies. So we will find, I imagine, that lots of predators will snack on impala rams. They're so exhausted, they lose focus. Okay, I'm heading to Treehouse Dam, then the den. Hopefully we shall get lucky. And as I move there, let's go across to Mr. Hendry himself, who I believe is also driving.
We are driving now, we are driving towards the east. Very slowly. We had some leopard tracks kind of around here this morning. I thought they may have headed off in this direction. They may well have headed in the other direction, but we're going to look through here carefully with great consideration of all bushes, termite mounds, other vantage points such as trees. Those impala are a very good indication that the leopard is not in fact present, unless they're about to die, or one of them's about to die. This one maybe, but probably the one to the left of that one because it's younger and smaller, an easier target. Brandon, there are tigers in South Africa, but there are no wild tigers in South Africa. So rather like in the United States, you'll find that there are places where tigers are bred or kept, and they are almost never tigers of any conservation value. In other words, they are mixed subspecies of tiger, and they are kept in captivity, sometimes on farms, quite often in enclosures or cages. And no wild tigers live in Africa. Tigers are an Asian species. There are a number of different subspecies that you get over a number of different subspecies that you get in Asia. You get the South China tiger. I'm just trying to remember them all. I'm definitely going to forget some, but I'm going to try. Bengal tiger is the most common. That's the one in India. South China tiger. The Amur tiger in the far east of Russia. I'm stuck already. I think there are another 2 or 3 different tiger subspecies. And the problem with tigers being kept in captivity, as anybody interested in tiger conservation will tell you, is that when people say, well, you know, my tigers have got conservation value, they don't. They're often mixed species or mixed subspecies. They're often interbred with each other. And so, you know, this is a good discussion of it, because you can come to South Africa and see tigers, not in the wild though. They do not occur naturally in the wild in Africa. Not sure why I gave you that cheesy, but I did. It's interesting, you know, as our audience has grown, we've had a lot of questions about whether or not we get free-ranging tigers in Africa, or whether we get tigers in Africa. And that's very interesting. In general, you know, you'd be surprised to find them in this kind of environment, because the lion is the dominant predator here. In India, of course, you do get, in the Gir forest, you find lions and potentially tigers in the same place. I'm not sure if you find tigers in the same place, but generally where there are tigers, apparently most other predators are very nervous to be. And certainly, I was attacked by a spiderweb. Certainly in parts of Russia, when I went there to try and evaluate or look at a tiger conservation project, the areas where there were tigers, they found very little evidence of even Amur leopards, which are leopards that occur in the far east of Russia. And I found that very strange because here lions and leopards live, I mean, they certainly don't live in harmony, but they have separate niches. They don't eat the same thing. And so they live relatively successfully in amongst each other. Whereas it would seem that tigers and leopards don't do the same. And I wonder if there's ever been a situation where in Asia lions and tigers lived together. I don't know. Successfully, you know. I suspect that tigers were more woodland and forest areas, and lions much more in the savanna areas. So I think there was probably a separation of their niches. Remember, the lions also were the most widely spread mammal on planet Earth at one stage. Let me say that once more. Lions, the lions that you see here, well, sometimes, are the most widely spread mammal, or were the most widely spread mammal on planet Earth, which just blows my mind, that all the way through Asia, all through Europe, you used to find lions. Isn't that amazing? The other thing we're sometimes asked by younger viewers is, or sometimes not even younger viewers, if a tiger and a lion fought, who would win? And I reckon there must be some record of that actually happening. And unfortunately, I think it probably comes from the circuses in Roman times when they used to have tigers and lions, and they probably used to fight them against each other. A tiger, of course, is much bigger than a lion. Philip, you want to know what the dumbest question I've ever been asked is? Philip, now you know that we have to tell everybody that there's no such thing as a dumb question. With a straight face. Philip, there isn't really such a thing as a dumb question. There are some questions that make you think, really? One such question was, why is there so much sand in Africa? It was one of my favorites. When I was guiding, I had, so, if it's October here, what month, if it's October back home, what month is it here? That's a genuine question that was asked by a guest. But I think the best one I've ever had was, yeah, it's still there. I'm just going to sneak slightly forward. The best one I ever had, Philip, was the following. And this was from an educated South African. She came from Durban. And she asked me, so, do you still get woolly mammoths here? And that was probably the closest to a dumb question I've ever had, and I had to reply, not for quite a long time, no. This is a bronze-winged courser. And as far as I'm aware, it has never asked a dumb question. But I do say it in all seriousness that it's very difficult to ask a dumb question. Some people just don't know stuff because they haven't learned it, they haven't read it, they haven't heard it, whatever it is. So there's some funny questions, yes, but they're not dumb. Let's go back to Nicky, who's up north, and he's got himself a male lion, even though it is difficult to keep a straight face.
So not too far away from where we had our little discussion, we managed to find these two male lions again. So early on there was just the one this morning, but you'll see the brother has come and just lay down slightly next to his brother. And so what we're hoping for, it is cooling down at the moment, is we're hoping that they might start getting up soon. Now with the one already moving out from the shade, so you see just behind them there's a little thicket or a tree with a few tall strands of scrub around it. The one was laying in there early this morning, and for one of them to really move out to the open, it's probably just waiting for his brother to move or get up before they'll start moving this evening. And because they separated from the rest of the pride, we just never know if they might start calling them. So it would be worth it for us to spend some time with these lions. That bird nearly flew into that lion and didn't even pick up his head. But you can see the one off to the right has a slightly blonder mane, lighter color mane in comparison to that one on the left. Just have a look. You can see more of the chin as well. So that little white patch at the end is actually the chin of that lion. He's so comfortable. He's laying with his with his head nearly turned at a 90-degree angle. Now the scary part is if you ever had to walk through this area and you didn't know they were here, imagine how well they blend in and how easily you can probably just miss them as you move past. Just look at that. I mean, from our angle it's a bit easier, but imagine having to approach from the back where that bit of grass can easily conceal those lions. And I mean, we're probably talking about lions that are close to 220 kilograms in terms of size. So that's nearly, what do we say, almost 500 pounds. Clay asked a really good question. Are lions nocturnal? Yes, they're mainly nocturnal. However, they can also move in the day depending on the weather. Now, like the weather today, that is a bit overcast and it does look like there might be some rain later on. You do find that lions tend to move in the day then. So they tend to move in the cooler parts of the day. But also when they hunt, they do prefer hunting at night because then they're able to see better than their prey. So it's easier for them to hunt because they're not too successful like lions in general. Yeah, just look at the black sky at the back. You can see it's not bright. There's not a lot of sun on them, so it's not warm. If it was warm, it wouldn't be worth us sitting with these lions because then they might only take a couple of hours before they start getting up and start moving. However, I think we are going to lose a lot of light because of that overcast weather and with the mountain range. Andrew, you asked a very good question about a bird in the background. Now, there's a few. The one is this. So that is called the Cape Turtledove, the old name, or ringneck dove is the new name for it. And then the other one that sounds like a bit of a shriek is a Burchell Starling. So I'll quickly just get the bird book out. See that lion just open his eyes. And then that one that we can hear there is called the Natal Spurfowl. But if I can quickly ask myself just to quickly show the book here. So that one we heard earlier, that work harder is this one here, the Cape Turtledove, or the new name for it now is the ringneck dove. But then the other one, the Burchell Starling that we said we heard, just thought I heard some movement. Oh, it's just the one male stretching his leg. I just quickly want to go to our starlings just to show you this one. So it's this one, sorry, right over here. So that beautiful bird here, you can see has quite a bit of black around the face and then a bit of purple here and a very iridescent blue color with quite a long broadish tail. The other one that it could be confused with is something called the Meave Starling, or the old name was a long-tailed starling. But this one you do find quite close to riverbeds. You don't really find it in an open area like here with the lions. So those are the two that we've been hearing calling. And then the other one, just the last one here, was the Natal Spurfowl, which would be this one right here. So I can just get it in. So you'll notice very interesting markings like on the chest, bit of brown, grey color on the back, and then of course those red feet. And this is the one that is calling also in the distance. But very interesting. I do love my birds as well. I just sometimes feel Marco, you asked a very good question. What happened to that young sub-adult male that was with the rest of the pride? Now, to be completely honest, we're not too sure. We're wondering if he might have joined up with the rest of the pride again, because we haven't seen any tracks or any signs of him. So the only signs we have seen was about that female that we think would be denning at the moment. So we saw some of her tracks, but going back towards the den area. And then these two males, and they have been calling quite a bit this morning and last night. And so I think most of the lines have been pushed out. We also had a look at some of the boundaries of the area to see if they might have crossed into different concessions. However, we just haven't seen any signs of him. So I think personally that he probably joined up with the rest of the pride. And the pride, as we speak, is not on the property. So hopefully if they do start crossing in, especially with these males starting to call and then eventually coming back, it would be interesting to see if that young male is going to be with the pride. But I think most likely, because every time he moves away, or these Ross males move away from the rest of the pride, he goes and joins up with them. And they don't mind him being there though. And it's so interesting, Marcel and I had a discussion about it today. It's so interesting that even though he's older than 3.5 years, because normally at 1.5 years male lions get pushed out, is that they still allow him to be there. It's only when the Ross males comes where he'll be laying on the outskirts. However, as soon as he moves away, he'll just join the pride again, which is really interesting behavior. Cheetah from Germany asked a really good question in regards to would the lions stay in one spot or would they move throughout the day? Now, lions have a certain territory, so it's an area that they fight off viciously for mating rights. And so within that territory, especially with the males, they will try and move as far as they possibly can to cover as much area as they can in that territory. However, with males like this, if they have been moving during the whole evening, they are pretty lazy animals and they can sleep up to 20 hours a day. So whenever they get an opportunity to rest, they will rest and just take that advantage until it is time to move again. Oh, look at the one just off to the right there. He's actually just starting to roll around. Just look at how he's like hugging his feet. That does look very, very comfortable, I must say. Now that he turned around, you can actually notice that he has quite a bit of dark as well on his mane. It's not as blonde as earlier when he was laying on his back. But to answer your question, so if they do need to move, they will move. But the thing is, they won't stay here for the next week or so unless there's been a kill. So they'll probably be moving around quite a bit over the next little while. So we're going to stick with them for a little bit longer. While we do that, let's head across to James and hear if he has an update for us.
We are arriving at the waterhole on the northeast corner, Biffle's Hook waterhole. Is there going to be a great teeming, swarming mass of herds or prides of lions, leaps of leopards, packs of wild dogs, bears, tigers, wolves, or just one terrapin? There it is, floating. Might be dead. Is it dead? No, it is alive. It is just lazy. Most likely the serrated hinged terrapin going for a swim. Now, of course, it's not surprising there isn't a great deal here having a drink on account of the fact that there's water everywhere and it hasn't been a particularly hot day. In fact, it's been a relatively chilly day. If you weren't on drive this morning, first of all, shame upon you. Second of all, we found another grebe with bebes on its back here. I think their nest is probably closer to the inlet, the other side there. We'll go around and see if we can find it. My wife will be very, very cross with me, because if I don't show her a grebe with bebes once a day, I get into a lot of trouble. Let's just go around there. The reason I came here was not because I expected to find a great number of animals cascading down to the water to drink, but because sometimes Tlalamba the leopardess, whose tracks I think we had today, were heading this way. While we go around and see if we can find the grebe, let's go back to Taylor, who has got a kingfisher at Karongwe, the eco training camp.
Sorry, I was just directing Alex as to where to go. Sorry we've been gone for so long, but we just drove off the fence line, but we found ourselves a little birdie. And, you know, because I haven't been chatting very much to all of you, shall we play the game of what bird is this? So, hashtag WildEarth on Twitter and comment away on the various social media platforms. Let's see if you had any ideas as to what bird that was. We're gonna, yeah, so it's quite nice. Actually, I've got stuff to show you. Hang on, it requires me, I have to now sit up on my door and reach for my office because I'm a collector, obviously. Okay. Now this is a crisis. Okay, it's quite cool. I found it on the fence, so I thought I brought it with me. I'm going to put it on the dashboard. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to have a look. Now that is a dead golden orb spider. It is no longer living. And I'm so sad that its legs have disappeared. Sorry, I should have given some kind of arachnid warning. I'm going to deposit some more legs here. There's a leg. I don't know what happened to it because it kind of looks like it was electrocuted and it had its web on the fence, on the big electric fence. So I'm not really sure how this happened, but I thought maybe I turn it like this, we can have a look at its chelicerae. It is freaking me out that I'm touching the spider. I don't really want to touch it, but I'm being brave. I need to use a stick. Sorry that it's moving. I'm moving on the car. Look at that. That's really, really cool. So there are its chelicerae, its fangs. These things over here, these little legs are called pedipalps. They're not really used for like walking or anything like that. I suppose it's like maybe an extra hand, if you will. But this is really awesome. But it's been dead for quite some time and it's entangled in its own web. I just thought it was so fascinating to have a closer look, and to be honest, I was quite surprised as to how hairy the spider is, and you can see on its legs that it is actually quite hairy, but its abdomen over here is not very hairy, and then it is made up. It's not like an ant that has three parts. It has an abdomen and then a cephalothorax. The head and the thorax are combined. Sorry, can you please repeat that? I apologize, I didn't hear correctly. Miss Adamandris, you've now said that the bird that we saw was a woodland kingfisher. Close, because you got the kingfisher part right, that's for sure. I'm just having a look in my book now. RV, you've guessed pied kingfisher. Again, I'm glad that we've got kingfishers on the as an answer, so we're on the right track. But sadly, it's not those two. But Mr. Anderson and Ollie, you have got it correct by saying that it is brown-hooded kingfisher. So now, what I'm going to do is, this is my very old bird book. You can see it doesn't even have a cover anymore. It comes with me everywhere. I'm going to open just kingfishers very quickly in my book. You'd think I'd remember where the K starts. Why can't I find it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. There we go, Kingfisher. 256. I uninstalled that Robert's Bird app on my phone, which I need to install at some point, but I can't seem to download it. Okay, so we had a guess of a pied kingfisher, which is this one over here. Now, the obvious reasons why it isn't that one is because it is black and white. So I think that the pied kingfisher is the easiest kingfisher to identify. Also, they like to live around water. You'll very rarely find a pied kingfisher out in sort of a woodland area. You normally find them perched on a tree nearby a permanent water source. Again, birds, I think, can be more opportunistic than we like to think. But they would typically eat amphibious creatures from fish to tadpoles and frogs and stuff like that. So half-collared, we're not rude. Oh, you have to be very lucky to see that one here. I'm going to turn the page very quickly. I'm going to open it up. Then we had another guess, which was the woodland kingfisher, which is right at the top, and that is spectacular and has got a variety of blue colors on it. We are still seeing a few of them, although they should be on their way home. They are what we call an intra-African migrant, so they actually head further north up into Africa, and they just come and visit us for our summers. They're definitely not calling anymore, which is quite sad, and is normally the signal that winter is on its way. And then, of course, we had the right answer over here, which was a brown hooded kingfisher that we were looking at, which was awesome. So they like to eat insects, but they'll also eat a varied amount of things. Fish, frogs. I've seen them eating lots of different things, even small reptiles to some extent. But well done on getting the brown-hooded kingfisher. We'll definitely see a whole bunch more kingfishers as we go. I hope to show you a striped kingfisher that lives at Rockfig Dam. Right, off you go, back across to the Sabi Sand, and Lauren, who I think is hoping to find something.
I am on Rebecca's Road, one of my favourites, and there's male and female leopard tracks. But I just asked Owen, and Trishala didn't drive this road this morning, and neither did James. So I can't quite pinpoint how fresh these tracks are, but it's starting to annoy me. Someone is using Rebecca's road every single day. And I say someone, I mean a leopard. Every time I drive this road, I see female leopard tracks, and I'm never able to find the leopard. I can normally figure out who's moving there. I study leopard territories almost every day. And I promised you all a map. I'm working on it. I've actually update on that for you. So I was just going to draw it with my wonderful artistic nature. However, Yvonne, who used to work with us in the tech department, I'm sure some of you may remember that name, she was German, has offered to help me make these maps into something a lot more exciting. It's not just a hand-drawn. Well, my hand-drawn maps are good, but you know, we could definitely do better. So just give me a little bit more time and we will have a much more exciting map for you all that you can all utilize. So my point is, I don't know who it is. I'm stumped. I used to think it was Shadulu, but I'm seeing them every single day, and that's what's confusing me. How come I am seeing these female leopard tracks fresh every day? They always scent mark on this sort of area of shrubbery here. Always see the sort of track marks going in, so you can tell when they've been scent marking, and then they walk down Rebecca's, and I just cannot figure out which female leopard it is. The only one I could really think of would be Shadulu. I can't think of anybody else. But I also could be very... Oh, everyone's excited about the territory maps. All the leopard tracks are here too. Yes, just give me a little bit of time. Yvonne is in Germany. I am here in South Africa, believe it or not. So we are working very, very hard on it. And I promise you we will get it to you. And it will be a lot better than my normal hand-drawn ones that I spend hours doing. And they still look terrible. It's going to be a very dynamic way to view the territories that we're going to be able to update for you regularly. Okay, I am going to try and figure out where this leopard went. And as I do this, unravel the great mystery of our spotted cats, we are going to send you back across to Nikki with a very snoozy cat.
There's a little bit more movement with these lines. You'll see now earlier on the flies were bugging this one that we have having a look at, and you'll see now and then the tail's flicking, like the ears are twitching. So I don't think it's going to be too long. He is getting a bit more irritated with these flies. So now and then you also saw him like lifting his head, trying to snap at the flies as well. But hopefully it won't be too long before they start getting up. It's just something about a lion, even if it's a sleeping lion, that really just like brings a lot of awe to them. They are majestic. I don't know, like, if some of the viewers, like, who would say lions are probably one of their favorite animals. I know there were some of the kids that sent me an email and said that they absolutely love lions. So I'd love to hear how many of our viewers would really say that they have a very soft spot for these beautiful cats. Well, JP, you asked a very good question. With the sub-adult male line from the Birmingham Pride, is he maturing a little bit slower than normal? I won't think so. I think he is probably maturing at the right age. However, I think he's just taking advantage in the fact that he's sticking with the pride, because normally with him, if he's pushed out, he's all by himself. And when a male lion is all by himself, he becomes very nomadic. So he basically would move from one area to another, steal the kills off cheetah, wild dogs, possibly leopard, and then or even hunt for himself, but very unsuccessful at first. As he grows older, of course, he gains a bit more skill, but he enjoys the safety of the pride as well as the opportunities that they provide for him. So in regards to being very opportunistic, I think he's misusing that advantage. However, I do think as well that probably within the next year or so, if he is pushed out by these males, he would mature a lot quicker in terms of then he actually just have to survive and able to fight, especially if he wants to take over territory. So he's not dominant as of yet, and normally male lions, only when they get to around about 6 years, do they start taking over territories and they have a fully developed mane. So he still has a bit to go. However, if I had to compare his size, he's already bigger than one of these Ross males. In terms of his heads, his paws. Because the other day when we were looking out for tracks, we actually saw a track of one of these males and then that young male next to it, and we actually thought it was a male and a female walking together, but it was because that young subadult's paws are so big that it makes these ones look small. However, he's very easily intimidated because of the fact that these ones have a mane, so they do look a bit more impressive. However, there's 2 of them and he's only 1. So if he can manage to stick it out for another 2 or so, he might be able to still stay with the pride if these ones don't, but also the chances are if other males come into the area, they're not going to tolerate him at all. These ones already are on the verge of not tolerating him, but because he shows that he's not dominant, they still allow him to be on the outskirts of the pride. And also the females do protect him quite a bit as well. But I think for now, let's just give it some time with these lions. Let's head across to James and just get an update from him.
My update is, I don't really have an update. We're on our, there's some lion tracks. They're almost old as some of the fossils you can find in this part of the world. So I don't think there's going to be a lion on the end of that track. Well, there would eventually be, I suppose, but it would be a very, very long way from here. We are heading to the far east again. We were sort of northeast. And apparently, I'm told we have a very special viewer watching. A very special viewer indeed. Her name is Nicola Austin. Nicola Austin is a long-time Safari Live fan. She lives at home in Cape Town, and she knows the animals here intimately and might like to send through a bit of advice as to where I can find a leopard. Good evening, Nicola.
Hi, Nikki.
Nicola actually used to work with us, has worked a lot with us, and it's very nice to have her on board. Quite an astonishing ability to recognize animals she has. Here is a little pan of water, and this is the kind of pan that is not going to last through the winter, but is often a place you'll find warthogs, and when there used to be buffalo in the area, you'd find buffalo here quite often. And I say used to be buffalo because the buffalo population has yet to recover from the dreadful drought of 2 or 3 years back. My wife says a lot of you are saying that I have not yet visited the Grebes. I suspect that might be her putting words in your mouth. But I will possibly go past there. I'm just quite a long way from that particular position at the moment. Okay, apparently it's not her putting words in your fingers. I'll go across there now. I just want to do a little patrol down the eastern boundary. I'm not sure what we'll see when we get there because it's already quite dark, but we'll certainly try. We'll give it a go. We tried the little grebe at the other waterhole, but it was much too wily for us. It kept hiding behind a tree, and no matter where we went, it was very quick to move. And in fact, we didn't get it on camera once. Alrighty, the leopard, the leopard queen seems to have struck again.
The Leopard Queen has struck again. Good evening, Miss Princess Tlalamba. It is so good to see you. I knew I had leopard feels today. Oh, scent marking. Scoosh, scoosh. It's so good to see spots. I wonder about these female tracks that I see every single day on Rebecca's. Is it Tlalamba? I've never seen her use Rebecca's. I've never ever seen... Kirsten thought I was asking, is it definitely Tlalamba? But is it Tlalamba that's using Rebecca's? I don't know. I've never seen her on this road. I'm just going to turn on so I don't lose her. Oh, doing lots of scent marking, but she is of course becoming territorial, and I see her often on the western edge of quarantine. Oh, crikey, crikey bobbins, I just hit something. I imagine it is a very large log. Okay, this is going to be tricky. I'm going to try another way. So yes, I think actually I've been thinking it's Shadulu, and it's not.
Sorry about that. I think the signal must just be a bit dodgy there. I'm sure they'll get it back now. Regardless, Lauren will stay with that cat, which is marvellous to see her again. I'm pretty sure those are the tracks we had this morning, and I clearly predicted the completely opposite direction for her to move. So that's great news. She must have come past the dam and up onto the clearings outside camp, and hopefully she won't do one of her disappearing acts before we can find some signal. It's a bit strange that the signal should be bad there. It should be fine, so really hopefully we'll have her back on screen in a few seconds. Yes. We'll just have a quick look now to see if we can find tracks of her mother and her new cubs, but I think she's probably still to the east of us on Tonchwood. Now we've had a pretty good drive so far, I'd say. So if you wouldn't mind thinking about perhaps supporting us, if you'd like to, you can go to wildearth.tv/support, and if you would like to help us continue with these broadcasts, that would be great. As I always say, they are free to view, but they ain't so free to produce. So if you'd like to help us out, that'd be gratefully, gratefully received. wildearth.tv/support. Now I must say, Lauren has found a lot of leopards on that road of late, and I was thinking about that right now, because I mean I don't seem to have found that many leopards on that road, but I don't think I drive it nearly as often, and I suppose she made the perfect call this afternoon by going across there, and she did say that she thought a leopard might pop out there, which is amazing. But it is a nice territorial boundary between Tingana, Hukumuri and Tlalamba, I suppose. So let's go back there now. She's got a picture back.
Thank goodness I have picture back. Our princess here is scent marking like there's no tomorrow. She's rubbing her sebaceous glands, which are in her cheek next to her whiskers, on every low-hanging piece of vegetation. Can you hear the impala? They are not happy. We have some very unhappy impala. She's also scooshing her urine on the trees, which is normal. And this is a specific fluid that they're squishing called marking fluid. And yes, it's mainly made up of urine, but it's called marking fluid. And when they
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on there. They may have to return to camp to have that sorted out. I'll quickly show you her mother's track if you want. This is an old one. This is from a couple of days ago. But at least you can see it. David, just tell me if we need to link back. Here is Tundi's track. And you can see my tracks from a few days ago. And she came out and was found actually later that day further inside to the east. And so she went hunting around here. And so that's why I keep trawling up and down this particular part of the world in the vain hope that I'll find her. Or more accurately, that she'll find me. This is the civet track. Yes, Svenja, we do get servals in this area. We don't see them frequently. I haven't seen one here for a long time. But yes, we do get them every so often. They're around. But because of the high leopard concentration, lots of hyena activity, lots of sometimes lion activity, used to be lots of lion activity, you'll find that they avoid being around or being obvious. Alright, let's go back to Nicky and his lions. We'll do our very best to get Tlalamba back on screen with Lauren shortly.
So they haven't moved too much, only a flick of the ear and a flick of the tail, but we are still going to be waiting around and see if we can get lucky with 2 roars this evening. Now, normally when a male lion roars, it's pretty impressive, but when 2 roar, it is like it takes your breath away, literally. So there were some impala rutting, and they ran down not too far away from where we are now, and as they were moving on, you can see the lion took notice of it, but wasn't too fast because he knew there was just only impala. And I don't think, like for them, they in any rush to possibly look out for hunting opportunity. I think if they do move towards the pride and there is something that comes up, they'll probably look at it, but it does look like their bellies are quite full. I mean, if you look at the one at the left, you can see the belly is a bit bulged, so probably had a meal in the last 2 days. Ooh, see, that one just got a fright. Ooh, nice stretch. Gail, you asked a very good question. Why won't the subadult be accepted with this coalition? The main reason is because I just want to quickly have a look how this one is going to lay down. Oh, look at that. Just look how the brother's holding his other brother.
Brotherly love.
Yeah, brotherly love. I have yet to seen this, especially with these 2 males. Normally they try and avoid each other, but that's pretty amazing to see. It just shows you how strong that brother bond would be. But the reason why they won't accept him is because the thing is, if he stays within the pride, there could be some form of inbreeding, and also he's not their cub initially, so he belonged to another male, a pretty big male that was bigger than these 2. However, oh, look at how majestic that is. So I think the reason why they won't accept him is just because if he does stay within the pride, there is a chance that he wants to mate with those females. And the other thing is these males don't tolerate other males as youngsters. So there's no sympathy towards them. So they'll probably try and push them away. And that's nature's way. Oh, look at that. And he looks like he has one tooth. I don't know if you noticed. So was it on the top? Well, I can only see one. See how he's smelling the air. There's a bit of a wind blowing towards him. Yeah, but just to wrap up, so I just think with them, they'll eventually push him off unless, I mean, if they do accept him in the pride, it's going to be very, very unnatural. It's not something that you would see any day, but it is also an option that could happen. But I just think in terms of with the pride dynamics, yeah, he's taking quite a deep whiff of and trying to smell what's going on. Now, the thing is, often if a lion is like this, as I said earlier on, we were waiting to see if we can hear them roar, and imagine if that just starts happening now. I don't know if it's maybe some wildebeest or maybe even zebra that might be in the area. But I do hope, that we will be very lucky. It also looks like he is, smelling, but also looking out in the air. Probably sees any birds. Look. This is good news. Look at that. I wonder what he's smelling. Let's just wait and see. I'm just trying to see where he goes. And then probably the brother would follow. So would you be able to swing around? No, the brother does look like this one has smelled something, and it might be, I don't know if it would be other lions or maybe even a zebra or wildebeest in the area. Because I remember on our way in we saw some zebra and wildebeest. Okay, I think for now he is moving and we don't know what's ahead of him. But let's quickly move to that direction and see if we can see what he's smelling or looking at the moment. So while we're going to follow him and see where he's off to, let's head across to Lauren with that leopard.
I have a flat leopard, which is wonderful. Miss Klalamba here is not easy to follow. If she doesn't want you to follow her, in my opinion, she's the most difficult leopardess, or leopard in general, actually, to follow out here. We got very, very lucky. I wasn't going to come this way, and I got really suspicious because the normal herd of impala that are sitting on quarantine are suddenly all the way over on Zoe's. And I know not all of you will understand the reserve, but what I'm trying to say is they weren't in their normal place, and that gave me a sneaky suspicion that there's a predator somewhere. There was no tracks, but I just had this gut feeling if the impala are here, something has to be around. And of course, lo and behold, it's Miss Klalamba. Oh, so lovely to see her. And she's walking along one of the main roads in the reserve. So we're just going to give her plenty of space. And then we'll follow her, of course. She's reaching 2.5 now, 2.5 years old. She was born in November 2017. And she's becoming territorial. I imagine soon she'll come into estrus. It may be a pseudo-estrus first, and then the real cycle. Miss Alamandra, you're asking if Talamba is going more west. Was that correct, Kirst? Just want to make sure I've got that correct as a follower. This marula, she always scent marks. This is Tlalamba's marula, and I can... Popcorn. I'm hungry. I don't think so, no. I really don't. I've seen Tlalamba using Vuatella access going up to about Aubrey's. If you know the reserve, she uses this road. She's always used this road. Tandy, her mother, gave her that northern section of the territory. So I think she uses a similar route to Tingana. She goes up Aubrey's, heads north that way. Then she goes into Buffelshoek, and her territory extends just a little bit east into Torchwood. But I don't think Tlalamba goes that far into Torchwood. I really don't. But of course, I don't know because we don't traverse that property. But she's got that real northern eastern chunk of Djuma. And I'm wondering, is it Tlalamba that's using Rebecca's? If it is, that would make a lot of sense, but of course I don't actually know. I'm just trying to piece together all the leopard's territories. Oh, Tlalamba, no. Please don't go into this block, because I can't follow you, girl. Oh, hello. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my beautiful princess. How are you? Are you just deciding to show off? Now, I know many of you are new to jumping on recap. She is the daughter of Queen Tandy, who is now queen. Of course, Karula was the original queen, but it's natural for there to be another queen once one queen passes. So we do now have Queen Tandy, and this is her daughter, Tlalamba, who appeared to be a litter of one that we know of. Tandy generally has 2 cubs on average, but it was just Tlalamba in that litter, and her father is Tingana the Duke. Now, when I look at this princess, all I see is Tingana. I really do. And the interesting thing is, she seems to spend a lot of time with her father. She seems to spend a lot of time with Tingana. They both spend a... What was that? Was that just a fly? I have no idea. And Tingana really tolerates her. He is very aware that that is his daughter. Really aware. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to mate with her. I know that sounds bizarre to humans, but in cats it's very common. They can inbreed, and it can last up to 3 generations before you see any effects. Michael, 100%. Tlalamba is bigger than Tandy. I'm not entirely sure about taller, but definitely longer in length and definitely stockier. Tlalamba is a chunky little monkey. She feeds well, she's healthy, she's coming into her prime. And obviously Tandy, her mother, is 13 and losing just a little bit of condition naturally, as you do when you get older. Definitely she's bigger than Tandy. I'm sure if we were to put them both on the scales, which we can't do, but if we could, then Tlalamba would weigh a lot more than her mother. She is a fine, fine leopardess, this one. Really fine. And she's turned into the huntress. I think we're going to see Tlalamba mating this year. I don't know with who. Could be Tingana, could be Hukamuri, could be Mulwati. Could be all 3. Of course, leopardesses do mate with multiple males or promiscuous, because when they do successfully conceive, it confuses paternity. And what this means, if this term's new to you all, that they're intentionally mating with many males, not just to get the best genes, but also, let's just use an example of Miss Tlalamba here. If she mates with Tingana, Mulwati, and Hukamuri, yes, I'm talking about you, that may actually give all 3 of them the thought that they are the father, and therefore they will protect the cubs. But I'll come back to this in just a moment. It appears that Nikki's lions are on the move.
So I just want to move to the front where this lion is. It does look like he's moving with quite a mission. Just want to make sure that we don't lose him. I'm going to quickly stop like this. I'll lower my head so you can just have a look at the way that he's moving at the moment. So you can see he's moving very determined in a certain direction, especially after he smelt the air. So we're going to try and stick with him as long as we possibly can. But it does look like he's left the brother, so the brother's still probably behind us. We're going to try and see how long we can follow this lion for. If it starts getting too dense, we might have to move out. Let's see if we can follow him. Okay, Marcel, you'll have to help me watch. So I can't see at the moment. Okay, I can see him there. I'm just going to squeeze in this little gap. Beck, I do agree with you. He is a very healthy male lion. So let's see where he's off to. Oh, there he goes. He's still on a mission. So I'm just going to... There's a slight game trail on our left. I'm going to try and move on this side. Don't want to be too close to him, behind him, like especially if there is something that he's seen, so we can give him a bit of space. Hold on. Okay, Marcel, if you want to get that camera, I'm going to lower my head out of the way, but you'll see him crossing. Oh, from a... Oh, is he going into the other way? Oh, let's carry on. It's so interesting, like he's just moving with such a mission, and I wonder if he's either smelt maybe that other young male, or is he maybe looking for the rest of the pride? So we don't know. I think if it was a hunting opportunity, him and his brother would have probably moved at the same time, but with him moving away like this, there's a good chance it might be something else. There he goes. I can still see him. Now, earlier on, I saw a herd of buffalo tracks. You can see, look at him picking up his head again and smelling. I can hear some impala rutting. So, copy that. I just wanted to tell the other rangers, apparently the other male lion is still in that area. However, there were some impala earlier on. It sounded like they were rutting. I was trying to see if they were rutting, or maybe if they were if they'd seen another predator. But for now, we're going to keep on following him, see where he gets to, or wherever he ends up. For now, let's head across to Lauren with that leopard.
Pull back, pull back. She's right in front of us. She's been sitting so perfectly, so pretty. She's back on the move, and she's scent marking right in front of the vehicle using her, this is the sebaceous glands that they use. It's not a, oh, there's a marking fluid.
Don't be live. Sure can make your way down.
Sorry, James is speaking on the Game Drive radio on my behalf. Thank you, James. What would I do without you? Just as we were about to go live there, someone started talking to me. But yes, the fluid that comes out of these sebaceous glands in our cheek is sebum. It's thick in texture, it's oily, and I'm not sure what it smells like, but I would love to smell it. I'm obsessed with smells. Really obsessed with smells. I'm just going to drive slowly. We're working with low ambient light. If Tlalamba decides to go off, we're going to struggle to find her. Erica, are you asking, can I explain why our leopards have royalty? Of course, it is just a nickname. And what we really mean by that is that they are the dominant individual of this area. So it used to be Karula, who was a beautiful, gorgeous leopardess with a huge territory that I never ever got the pleasure to meet, sadly. And she was the dominant female here. That's why we sort of call her queen. In terms of the leopard lineage, we're all a bit obsessed with our leopards here. Well, I am for sure. And we call Tingana the Duke because he is a dominant male. When they don't all have royal titles, we call Hukamuri the gang. It's not very royal. But of course, once Karula passed, her daughter Tandy got the title of queen, just as it would in any monarchy. And that's how Tlalamba here is princess. I guess that would mean that Kuchava is a princess too. We were just talking about Kuchava earlier, Owen and I. But we're talking about Djuma, the leopards and the leopardesses that rule Djuma. And the main ones are your royal lineage. Tingana, Tandy, and Tlalamba here. They are the main ones that you find on Djuma. But of course you will find other leopards. Hukamuri pops in, Shidulu pops in, Sabui used to pop in, but I think since she's had a litter of cubs, we really don't see her that often. And Mulwati's around, we don't really know much about him. Luna occasionally popped in from the north. Oh, look at her cute face. Let's take a look at her face. That is Tingana. All I see is Tingana. I don't know if you all agree with me or if I'm crazy, but she's a double of her daddy. So yes, there's other leopards that of course pop in that we know of, and of course there'll be many that we don't. I think Trishala once came across a random skittish male that we'd never seen before, and, well, never to be seen again. Tristan recently had a male, a very skittish male, again, was probably just passing through. I think the flies are really... Oh, apparently Tristan's watching. Hi, Tristan. You are missed. I miss you. I miss your hugs. Please come back soon. Tlalamba misses you too. Right, Tlalamba? Yeah, see, she responded. Everybody misses you, Tristan. Come back. And for those of you who have just jumped on board to WildEarth, Tristan is another guide, a long-standing, very experienced guide who is the real leopard whisperer. And he's obviously not here. He wasn't able to come back because of lockdown. So he'll be coming back soon, I imagine, depending on what happens. And you'll all get to meet him. I don't know why our princess here is sitting so perfectly. Look at those front paws, Owen. My beagle also sits like that. So yes, Tristan had a skittish male. So of course, many leopards will pass through, and we just don't get to see them, or we just don't get to know. All we do know is the ones that we do get to see. So my gorgeous spotted cat here is now on the move, and it appears that Nikki's lion is finally stationary.
So he's turned around and he's almost heading back towards his brother again. But he's constantly stopping and he's listening out. And I wonder if he hasn't heard or whatever he smelt a bit early. He's probably trying to find out exactly what it was. If we do see anything, we'll immediately take the light off of him. However, he's still just scanning and smelling the area. He hasn't spotted anything yet. I'm trying to just be quiet to hear if I can hear what he might be hearing. And if we all just listen, and you'll hear the birds, and you'll hear even if the birds see him, how they fly away and they make this distress call. But I'm hoping maybe pretty soon he'll call his brother to join up with him again. But you can see how focused he is. Look at his ears. He's really determined. He's looking in that direction very intently. Sylvie Fall from Canada, you asked a very good question. Do lions have very good eyesight? Yes, they do, especially this time in the evening. Now, their eyesight are a lot better than ours. And you'll also notice, like with lions, because they move at night, they allow quite a lot of light into their eyes. So they see very, very well. And mainly this time in the evening until early part of the morning is probably when they see the best. In comparison to if you had to compare it against zebra or wildebeest, or any of those more common animals that you find walking in the day, I would say lions have a lot better eyesight. Now, how I like to compare a lion's eyes is, if you can see a lion in the distance and it had to look at you, it would most likely be able to spot you. Just have a look at how he's scratching himself now. It probably has quite a big itch in the ear. Just trying to get rid of that itch. Alright, he's on the move again. So we'll try and follow him. As I said, he might be back on his way back to his brother because he has changed direction. We'll try and follow him on this game trail that he's moving on at the moment. But how exciting is this? You just never know with lions moving what we could find. So let's stick with him for another little while and see what he's up to. You might even find that he walks past these bushes and he'll probably lift up his tail and start scent marking. Let's just have a look. See, he's still testing the air. So we're going to try and stick with him for the next little while, and we'll let everyone know as soon as there's any update. But for now, let's head across to James and hear what's his update.
I'm now trawling the southern boundary. Sign of anything. Maybe a cat. That would be nice. I'd like to see a cat. Try to recognize one. We had a very nice sighting of some more elephants, but we left them because you were with the leopard, and we thought, well, we'll do the south here and see what we can find. It's a stick. Spotted a stick, everybody. I'm really good at spotting sticks. I believe that Tristan Dix is watching the show as well. Good grief, it's a collection of the luminaries of WildEarth watching us. Tristan Dix, Nicola Austin. Maybe Tristan could tell me where I could find a leopard. That would be nice. Tristan, where can I find a leopard? I'm sure he'd tell me. I suppose what we'd hope to find along here is some sign of Iucn or Shidulu. Those would be the two leopards in this particular region. Alternatively, maybe the hyenas going out on patrol. Let's go back to Nicky now. His male lion has finally decided to shout.
So I'll just listen out because he started contact calling earlier, probably for his brother. There we go. So that call that we've been hearing now is not the full roar. He might just be calling his brother. So if we spend some time, he might just go into a full roar. Let's just listen and give it a bit more time. Actually sounds like I can hear his brother responding to him. So while we stick with this line, let's quickly head across to Lauren with that leopard.
You will not believe what is happening right in front of me here. Tlalamba is walking towards our camp. I don't know what Natalie and Trishal are cooking up for dinner, but I wonder if Tlalamba, oh my goodness, she's gone right into our camp. She's about to come to the gate. You may see bright lights. Bright lights. That is FC, everyone. Beautiful Kirsten and Louise are sitting right there. Tlalamba, where are you going, my precious, lovely leopard? This is our camp. That's our gate. So don't worry, I have informed everyone in camp to make sure that they're not wandering around. If any person appeared in front of her right now, she would probably run. She's skittish, so most leopards or most animals are slightly skittish to humans on foot. We're a threat. We're not a vehicle. There we go. She's right outside FC. Those lights are FC. Tlalamba, what are you doing, silly sausage? Kirsten or Louise should probably come to the window and wave. Oh, there they are. Hi, guys. Beautiful ladies. My beautiful colleague, she's watching. She's watching you.
We follow you in.
She's literally right in our camp. I'll keep you up on movements. I think she may head out soon. I'm not entirely sure. We can have lots of vehicles coming in here. Okay, let me slowly round the corner. Osana and Singana walk through our camp as well. It's a wild camp, everyone. And I actually wanted to go live from our camp today because our resident bushbuck has had a baby bushbuck. Oh no, she's going into another camp. Tlalamba, no, you cannot walk there, honey. Okay, she is walking right into camp. Luckily, and now I can't see a thing. She's there somewhere. She's going to probably end up at the dam cam at some point. So we do have gates here. Don't worry. They are all closed. We do take safety measures, I promise. Now I just can't find her. I'm just going to get my spotlight out. Just look for eye shine. We need to know where she is, okay? You got her on, or do you want me to reposition?
No, we need to reposition.
Okay, I'm going to go forward. She is here, I promise. She's going to end up at the dam cam. For any of you who don't know what that is, we do have a camera. I'm sure you've heard us talking about it many times at Gowrie Dam or Vuatella Dam. And I imagine she's going to appear there very shortly. Okay. I can't see her. I think I'm going to need to try and locate her. Many of you are finding it very amusing that she walked into our camp. Yes, and I'm sure she does it a lot. And I'm glad you got to see our beautiful ladies in FC, Louise and Kirsten. Okay, there's an electric fence here too. That's what you're seeing. This is our electric fence for elephants. We have an electric fence that runs right through the camp to keep out elephants, because of course a herd of elephants walking through your camp is really not what you want. Okay, I'm going to try and find where our princess has gone, get on that game drive radio, but for now let's go across to Mr. Hendry and see what he's up to.
I am now on the western fringes of Djuma. Trawl the east, I've trawled the south. Oh, we've got a fiery-necked nightjar on the road. Well, some form of nightjar, I think. Our cup runneth over, and the bird doth fly away.
Station's looking for the female leopard.
Let me just turn that down. So what is quite cool about that is that the bird itself, those nightjars have got eyes almost on the top of their heads, and what that allows them to do is lie in a little clearing like this, so the road basically, and see insects flying overhead. And then they've got a massive surface area to the wings, which is not particularly useful if you're trying to be a maneuverable bird or a bird that flies quickly, but it does give you a tremendous amount of lift, so they quickly launch into the air. And then they've got a big fat wide mouth, which allows them to grab the insects that fly overhead. Isn't that clever? I think it's pretty clever. You saw how quickly it took off. Tristan Dick says I should be checking Treehouse Dam and Weaver's Nest Road. I was already past there, alas. I'm not sure I would have enough time to get back down to Treehouse Dam, but there's probably a leopard lying on the wall. No idea, Ravi. I feel like I've learnt this before, but that I've forgotten it. A leopard is called a leopard. Why? Well, no, I don't actually know. I don't know the answer to that, Ravi. I'm sorry about that. I do not know the etymology of the word leopard. I feel like I should. Tracks of a... Is that a hyena or a leopard? I think it's a male leopard going up this road. We might have some luck there. Let's go back to Kalamba. Lawrence managed to find her again.
We managed to catch up with her again, thank goodness. She's still very close to the lodge, but don't worry, everyone's been warned and all gates are closed. Please do not worry. And she's having a really, really good sniff at something very interesting in the thicket here. Now remember, leopards are designed to recognise one another through scent. And I have absolutely no doubt, I don't know if it's scientifically proven, that she will know exactly who she's smelling. She'll know this is her father Tingana, or this is her mother Tandy, or maybe this is the other male Hukuri. She will absolutely know who she's smelling at all times. They're not as they haven't evolved to recognize the scent of individual lions or individual wild dogs, but they have evolved to recognize the individuals of their own species. I always say this on every drive, but the biggest threat to any individual is an individual of your own species. She needs to know which other leopards are around. She has to. Now, I don't know if Yuri and Pippa are watching, but she's walking right to their house. Yes. Talamba's doing rounds of everyone's accommodation today. So we're not going to go up this road because it's private property. But what we can do is continue driving down this way. And Samantha, you're saying she's so cute. Yes, she is. Owen said he thinks Kalamba is the best looking leopard. She's stunning, that's for sure. Can you see her? Okay, this is private property, so we're just going to skip around, and I know she will pop out just up ahead. She absolutely will, because this property is also... Oh, there's an impala. He's going to get a fright. You see that? Let's just turn off. I wonder if he knows she's there. I think he knows. Oh, he knows. You see that? That's an alarm call, everyone. That's an impala alarm call. Incredible. I'm just going to go forward, don't get it. Impala, sit tight. Oh, he's running. She must be on the move. I can't see her, but he's off. And it's highly unlikely that she would actually chase him or hunt him once she's been spotted. The game's up. She can't ambush. She can't stalk. He knows she's there.
Lauren, she's coming behind you.
Copy, thank you. She's behind us, apparently. Owen, did you hear that? So she's on the road. There we go. Megan, you made a comment there. I didn't get it, though, because the game drive radio went off. But... Oh, do you think so, Megan? The impala sounded like gunshots. I'm not so sure I can agree with you. But, well... It's definitely... Look at her shadow. Her shadow's huge. Okay, she's right behind the car now. You're causing lots of trouble this evening, madame. Yes, you are. And you now know that there's a male impala there that's seen you. But yes, the impalas, it's a fast, furious snort that comes from their nostrils. Normally you see lots of sort of saliva and things spray when they do it as well. And it's repetitive. And that's sometimes how we find leopards, by listening to that sound. Oh, many people are saying you heard a woman shouting. There is a vehicle behind us, and we are around a lodge and a private property. So very, very possibly there's a woman that was shouting. Look at her shadow. But I did not hear that, I'm afraid. But yeah, there's other vehicles with landowners. Oh, many people are wondering if it's Pippa. Very possibly Pippa. I've not had the chance to message her yet. I would like to message her, but obviously I am driving. Pippa would be very excited to know that Klalambas came to visit. Now she's going to appear right on the dam cam soon, everyone. If you are watching, she is headed that way. And you will see our vehicle. And you will see the other vehicle, which I am probably going to pull over very soon and let them pass, so that they can get a little bit of a turn to see her. It's called leapfrogging, everyone. So as we go past the lodge, I think I'm just going to let this other vehicle pass. There we go. We'll get some last views of her turning the corner to the dam cam. You see the lights from the dam cam. Okay, I'm just going to let this other vehicle go in front so they can enjoy Tlalamba's bottom. And as I do that, we're just going to send you guys across to andBeyond in Ngala for an update with Nikki.
So unfortunately, we were following this big male line and he went into this very steep drainage line, so we couldn't see him anymore. So also, we are so far away from where the brother is. We're going to start making way in that direction. Hopefully we'll get there in time. But we just couldn't follow him anymore. It was so dense that we had to pull out. But hopefully, as I said, maybe we can find that brother again as we carry on. But unfortunately, like, just to have a look, I'll ask Marcel just to shine off to the left here, the camera. But just look at how dense this area is. You'll notice very big trees, couldn't really like cross and also not follow this male. So we're going to carry on. Hopefully we find the brother again. We'll listen out, maybe switch off the vehicle here if they're calling, but he is very far from us. So hopefully we'll be able to get there in time. But how special was that? I mean, for me, it was definitely a highlight of my days, being able to follow that male and also just hearing him roar like that guttural call. Unfortunately, we didn't hear him roaring again, but I mean, it left the bar quite high for the next time we find them in order to see if we can get another beautiful roar like that. So as I'm going, I'm looking out for any tracks on the road, because currently at this moment, this male is moving and he's marking his territory. But we're going to carry on. While we do that, let's head across to Lauren with the leopard.
My leopard is on a mission tonight. We've just lost views of her. I'm going to turn around. Now, many people are worried that you heard gunshots. I promise you, there was absolutely no gunshots. I'm sitting right here, and there is no such thing, I promise. What you did hear was the impala. That sound, it's very, very loud. It honestly doesn't sound like it's coming from an impala. It really doesn't, but it is, and that's the impala alarm call. And because Tlalamba was so close to the impala, that's why he was doing it so frequently and so intense, I guess. Normally, if they just see a predator a little bit further away, then the alarm calls are not so frequent and the intensity is not so strong. So I promise you there was no gunshots, everyone. That was the impala. It just sounds very... I'm going to move on. It is. It's a very abrasive noise, actually. And if we hear that in the distance, that's how we know there's a predator. And that's sometimes how we actually find leopards out here, because we can hear the impalas alarming. And what's confusing right now is the males snorting because of the rut. And that's very confusing for us at the moment, because they're being very vocal and it can throw you. Is that her there? She's gone flat. So it's time for snoozies, my girl, I know. We will let you snooze, I promise. There we go. But yes, at the moment, the impala are snorting because it's rutting season and they're sort of very, very vocal during this period, and that's why it's confusing. Owen and I, at the very, very start of drive, actually heard a sound, and it sounded like impala's alarm calling, but actually, I think it was just two males being incredibly boisterous. And she's turned around for the last part of the show. Now, there is artificial light on her, I'm afraid, but I just want to let you all know it's not coming from us. You are seeing her in black and white because we're using infrared, an amazing piece of technology that allows us at WildEarth to view animals without shining any artificial light on them whatsoever. That's our special piece of technology that does that for us, and that's why your picture is black and white. You will see her eye shine, that's a pedum lucidum that we always talk about. You will see the eye shine reflecting in the infrared, but we don't have any light on her. Not a single piece. Oh my goodness, she's heading right to Tambeta, and there's actually a pan there now. And I wonder if she's going to have a little bit of a drink there. Very possibly. Oh my goodness, the countdown is on and she's walking away. Can I get another view? Is it going to be possible in the last 30 seconds? I'm going to try. If not, you will be stuck with the back of my head, which is, well, definitely not as nice as Columba, that's for sure. Ah, there she is there. Let me just go past and we're going to get one last view. Okay, there is our last view of our leopard, Miss Columba. And I mentioned to you earlier, the real leopard whisperer is Tristan Dix, my very good friend and colleagues. And believe it or not, he's about to go live on Instagram from Hoodspray, our nearest town, really not too far away from here. So he's locked down there and you're welcome to engage with him and watch him on Instagram live. So please do tune in. I certainly will be when I get back to camp and I get some food. So it's been an absolute pleasure, everyone, having you on board. What a drive. I finally found my spots. So from Columba, Owen and I, we say thank you from this vehicle, but of course a big thank you to everyone from us at WildEarth and Beyond Ngala and of course Eco Training Karongwe. We will be out tomorrow, so please do jump on board then. But for now, good night.